This is a warning to all living mortals, that who shall ever open this chest of demons will release 13 of the most terrifying ghosts upon the face of the earth. Okay, cut it. This isn't going to work. Let's try some nostalgia bait.
It's mighty strange. You looking happily deranged. I can't tell if you're bed. Or have you picked your target yet? It's empty. Got your dog bite. It's empty.
Okay, that was better. But let's try something a bit more cinematic.
Hey, where my broken arrows at? They try to tell us we can't fly. Like we too broken or something. I mean, I'd rather let them know. Balls up. Hold up. My squad about to roll up. Hold up. My squad about to roll up. Get them balls up. Get them balls up. Get them balls up. Get them balls up. Hold up. My squad about to roll up. Hold up. My squad about to roll up. All the way up. Get them balls 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 all the way up. Broken arrows get bows up. Sometimes I pray with my nose up. Thinking about when the world crumbles and my whole squad just goes up. Ain't gotta worry, we straight like an arrow, yeah. Ain't gotta worry about faith, nope. I'm on that straight and the narrow, yeah. I just go straight like an arrow, yeah.
Yeah, that's the shit I like. Let's start the Barroom podcast. Take it away, Jacob.
Oink oink sui yippee yo kaye, people. We're here. It's Tuesday. It's episode 161 of the Barroom. And I got a lovely group of people joining me here for this episode. Let's go ahead and introduce our good buddy, Rob Model. How's it going?
It's going well. I can't complain. Could have gotten seriously hurt in a car accident, a week and a half ago. So things are good. Losing weight, job's going well. So I really have nothing to complain about. So this is usually the part where I self-destruct, but things are going well right now. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah. There's times when I'm driving around, I just think to myself, you know what? It's probably a good thing I don't drive with a gun, because I probably would have shot someone by now. And so it's probably for the best that I don't drive with one. Yeah, it's a thing. We'll explain it a little bit later on. TW is here. How's it going?
Yo, yeah, it's going good, man. I just put out a video talking about some recent or big changes that I'm going to make for the channel. I am going to be bringing back live streams at some point. I'm not sure if I want to stream on Kick or Twitch or whatever, but yeah, check that video out, you guys, if you haven't. But yeah, right now, everything's going good. I'm balancing school and work and YouTube. Yeah, it's going all right.
Good. All right, can we get a trifecta here from Cider? You got good news to share with the class?
Yeah, I am playing Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's disappointing.
Hey, TW, you don't sound like crap, so good job.
Oh, I know, right? It's because I'm actually using my mic this time.
Yeah.
Because before I was using my laptop speaker, but this time I'm just using my mic.
Yeah.
How long have you been streaming now? You only just now figured out to use your actual mic?
Like I've had to do this out of like out of like my car for like the past few like days. That's where I've been doing my videos and all this stuff from. So I've not been able to do this anywhere.
All right, and then of course Cider finally has the Street Fighter up available. So that
Yeah, Street Fighter 2. Sorry.
Yes,
Might be a little distracted.
So we can actually see the
Actual
bit now.
good fighting game franchise.
Ken. So you got Ken and is that Blanca maybe because it's Brazil? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's Blanca.
Okay, let's have a quick little argument here about fighting games because I talked about this with Cider a while back ago, and we were talking about in the context of kind of the current state of Mortal Kombat, Tekken. I guess you can throw Street Fighter and a couple other franchises in there, but we all know Mortal Kombat is kind of a dumpster fire right now. I think they've reset their timelines in the Mortal Kombat universe like for the last 3 different games, so nobody knows what the hell's even going on in the Mortal Kombat universe anymore because they've screwed everything up. But then when you look at Tekken, and Tekken, ever since essentially Tekken 3, has just decided what bullshit level of like Super Saiyan Jin and Kazuya is going to achieve in order to defeat one another, because no one else has apparently won the King of the Iron Fist tournament in the last like 9 games outside of those 2.
They haven't.
So at this point, the Tekken franchise is only 2 characters. The only ones that can turn into devils, and then those are the only ones that matter. And then you got Street Fighter, which, you know, they had a movie coming out starring Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. So I don't know if that's a high bar or a low bar, but that's the thing that's happening. So what is there a fighting game franchise that you still view fondly of right now? Because they all have its flaws at the moment.
Virtual
Honestly,
Fighter.
even though, yeah, Virtual Fighter, definitely. I'm looking forward to the latest one being released. Hopefully that doesn't wind up like crap. But I guess I would say Street Fighter, even though Street Fighter 6 is garbage. And honestly, I can't wait to make a video on why Mortal Kombat was actually never a good fighting game franchise, at least fundamentally, when it comes to the actual style of fighting. So I know that's gonna get some heat for sure.
You know, it's funny how to this day people are still making like, you know, Mortal Kombat like ROMs and hacks off of like the old sprites from like 35 years ago, from like the Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 days, and like people are still making sprites based off of those games till this day. Nothing from the 3D era whatsoever. Basically anything after like Mortal Kombat 4, just like no one cares.
I mean, I played a lot of these games growing up. Fighting games were probably one of the few games I didn't suck at. So that's probably why I played them along with sports games and like first-person shooters. But I've always really liked them. I've always really liked Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I mean, I played the original titles on the Super Nintendo. I actually like some of the newer Mortal Kombat games. Now, I say newer. Like, was it Deadly Alliance, Armageddon? Now, and I know they're different games than obviously like what, you know, if you're my age, what you grew up with, like the arcade style, Mortal Kombat 2, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, that kind of thing. But I kind of thought it was interesting how each character had their own fighting style and, you know, and learn their move. I mean, obviously they each have special moves from the original games and stuff, but I thought some of that was cool. I thought some of the storyline was kind of neat, but I don't think I've played a Mortal Kombat based game since, what was that DC thing? What was the DC?
Mortal Kombat versus DC.
It was before that though. It was Injustice, the Injustice series. Like that was my last like Mortal Kombat styled like fighting game where I was just like, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like,
honestly,
I got bored.
If the last game you played was Mortal Kombat versus DC, I wouldn't have blamed you, because personally, I think the series should have died after Armageddon.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, because in the 3D era was like, I personally think it was better than the arcade era. But yeah, after Armageddon, that should have been it.
And I wouldn't even argue with you about Mortal Kombat not being a great fighting game or whatever. Like Mortal Kombat, I don't know. I was a kid, so this is it was just about blood, gore. Like it was about seeing like a graphic sort of fighting game with like spikes at the bottom of the pit and fatalities and ripping heads off, and like that was the whole point. It was an over the top kind of like karate stylized kind of like martial arts game or whatever. But it just, you know, but that's all it was to me. And then Street Fighter was a little cleaner, a little bit more colorful. I mean, I like the character rosters on both games to the point where if they kept that same model, but just maybe improved on it, I definitely would be interested. But you know, we saw the Street Fighter movie, the one with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, I sat here through that 2-hour stream and I'm like, this is like in a bad movie way, awesome. Like it was supremely entertaining. To kind of
it was peak 1990s cheese.
Yep. So, I don't know. I'm not a video game player, so my opinion doesn't count for much here. But it just seems like less is more. It seems like the fighting games were more popular when the graphics weren't as good. They didn't have features. They didn't have a whole litany or roster of characters and whatever. So I don't know. It just seems like I don't know if jump the shark is the right term there, but it's not what it used to be, like so many other things in pop culture.
Yep. And like I said, to me, my favorite series is probably right now Tekken. Like I said, Mortal Kombat to me has just completely fallen off ever since Mortal Kombat 9, and it's been almost 15 years since that game's come out, as far as I remember. And everything since then has been trash. Tekken is still my favorite, even though, like I said, the story-wise, they've fallen off a lot over the last several years. Street Fighter is like, I know enough about Street Fighter, but I'm not like strongly like into it, so I'm kind of like sometimes 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and that's kind of where I've been for a lot of those, I guess, Capcom properties over the last few years. But like I said, it just seems to be like there's a struggle out there for fighting games. And I'll tell you this here too, just real quick. I went to a retro video game store not too long ago, and they had a copy of Def Jam Fight for New York for the PlayStation 2, which apparently is like a super rare game. It was literally $180 just for the game
hell no.
on the PS2.
Nope. Emulate that. Yeah, you'd be better off emulating. Nah, I'm good.
$180 in 2025 for the physical copy of that game, which is absurd on all kinds of levels. But that's the current state of gaming here. I want to go ahead and kind of run down all of our people here in the chat here. I mean, not run you guys down like I don't like you, just kind of letting you guys know that we know you're here. Neozoic is here. He has a question for us. He says, which film would you rather watch? The latter was influenced by the former. Would you rather watch Wrath of God or Apocalypse Now, the 1979 film? Rob, I'll leave this one with you.
Yeah, I actually own both movies, and they're very good. Both are very good. What would I rather watch? I guess Gary the Wrath of God, just because I've seen it. I haven't seen it nearly as much as I've seen Apocalypse Now. Actually, I've only seen a Gary once, so I'll go with that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would go with Apocalypse Now. I agree with that one. I don't know if TW or Cider are huge movie buffs, if they would have an answer to this question.
Nope.
I'm not that big of a movie buff, honestly. I may have seen Apocalypse Now, but I haven't seen Wrath of God.
Okay. Well, then he has a bonus question here. It says, which actor would be more difficult to work with, Klaus Kinski or Marlon Brando? Look, Marlon Brando's fine as long as you don't, give him any responsibility or rely on him to finish your production or anything like that. If you keep the bar low with Marlon Brando, you should be fine.
Give him a sandwich and tell him when he can go home, and he'll do everything you need him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Klaus Kinski is a fucking nightmare. Not to mention like what he's done in his personal life. He's a terror of a person. I mean, he's just like what is that infant terrible or whatever, like that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like just that's what he is. He's like the worst like child having a temper tantrum and like but holds actually some skill and talent. Where it's like, okay, I need you to do your job, but I can't keep placating you because the rest of us have to do ours too. So, and Marlon Brando, here's the thing: he was a prankster. Like, yes, he absolutely like fucked with the shooting schedule and was a problem, but this guy would crack so many jokes, so many practical jokes on set that was almost like worth it, because it would create a break, and it was like, okay, fine, we need a break, and let's get reset. But where Klaus Kinski was just a handful and a complete nightmare. So,
yeah. Who else have we got here? We got Leslie Tarkin joining us here for tonight's show. Lisa Dawn joining us here. Hey, happy Tuesday, friends. Terminator Joe says early bird gets the worm. We got Keith over on our Rumble side of things. Rob's in the chat. I'm in the chat. Vanya's off to the dentist tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to be at the dentist on Saturday to get this tooth that's literally been nagging me for almost 2 years completely ripped out of my mouth, because I did some research on root canals, because really I needed a root canal. And my problem is, first of all, for a root canal and a crown, if you want it done by like a professional, it's like $4,000, which is absolutely absurd to that kind of money. Then you have two issues. One, you have the issue that root canals are not even foolproof. They may not even work. And if they don't work, then you have to get it taken out, then get a tooth replacement, which could be another $5,000, which is just like, well, if you're going to have to eventually get it ripped out anyway, you might as well just get it ripped out and go with the $5,000 to save yourself some money. That's just my opinion. And then secondly, the whole thing with like root canals, it's like they tell you, oh no, we have to do this in order to save the tooth. Well, if you need a root canal, your tooth is probably already almost dead anyway. So you're not actually saving the tooth. You're saving the structure of the tooth. But the dangerous part is that when they go in, they rip out all the nerves and then the stuff like that. If you actually do have a reoccurring infection, you're not going to be able to know it, because they've ripped out all the nerves that give you pain sensors to let you know that something's wrong. So that's why people have said that there's a link between like heart attacks and root canals, because essentially what happens is that an infection builds where the root canal teeth is, and the person who has it doesn't even realize it, because there's nothing to warn them that there is an infection there, and then it just gets to your bloodstream, and then you just die, and people don't know what the hell happened. So all the risk and reward, you're like, you know what? I'm probably just better off ripping this thing out and then spending some money on a replacement down the line. I don't think that, I'm going to go to all this effort just to attempt to save this tooth. So no, I'll just have 3 molars on one side of my mouth for a little bit. I think I can manage that. Yeah. So I feel your pain.
I worked in dental insurance, so all I'm going to say is, if you need an implant or multiple implants, buddy, that's rough, because most plans don't cover it, and it's like, okay, this was literally a decade ago. They were $1,500 a piece. I'm sure it's only gotten higher. So
now you're probably looking at about, I say, $3,000 to $5,000, depending on what tooth you're actually trying to get replaced. And yeah, the reason why they don't typically cover it is because the insurance companies prefer you to get the root canal rather than the tooth replacement. But like I said, there's a risk with the root canal, and you hear horror stories about people who got the root canal, then the root canal failed, and they still had pain, and they still had an infection, all this other stuff. And it's just like, it's just not worth it. But then again, it's the big, dental medical industry. That's just the way they do things. So yeah, I think I'll buck the system for this one. I think I'll be all right. Terminator Joe says the mic. Says that Street Fighter is classic Soul Calibur at its best. Heihachi always comes back. Yeah, they apparently killed off Heihachi in, what was it, like 7, and then they've already brought him back in 8. So he's alive again. So they didn't even last one game.
What a twist.
Yeah. Dead or Alive. Okay, Soul Calibur again. Yeah, I mean, NetherRealm have a bunch of purple hair weirdos working on their staff, so that's why that whole thing's falling apart.
They lost
Kenny
their
Powers.
Bias left.
Yep, and that should have been a warning sign to everyone. Kenny Powers here. Top Dog is also here as well. Dead or Alive was fun with all the boobs and bouncing. The volleyball spinoff was hilarious. Yeah. When you go back to that time period, it was weird how so many people were offended by that volleyball game. It was just like, this is just corny. Like, it's just, to me, it's just a corny video game. But
it's a load of fun.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when that came out, it was like, I don't remember when, but it was like the mid 2000s, I want to say, and it was just like, well, I'm 16, I get it, but you know what I mean? It's a harmless piece of, like, whatever. It's that meme again, where that chicks where video games cater to the male fantasy. So just like, it's fine. It's a harmless.
And look,
it's a harmless.
I learned a long time ago, and this is going back like 10, 15 years, like with like certain video games and like certain anime series with all the sexy ladies on them, like, to have to like physically own a copy of like those games, like those DVDs, and then ever bringing a girl home, it's like, I'm gonna have to explain this to someone at some point, and I feel like it's probably best if I just get rid of this now, so I have to avoid this conversation entirely like down the line. So that's the reason why I just stayed away from a lot of that stuff, because eventually it's gonna come back and bite you. Top Dog says, what's your best 80s hip-hop group? Beastie Boys? Is there any other answer than the Beastie Boys?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, if this were 90s, I could name like a bunch, but 80s, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, Run DMC, I guess.
Yeah, apparently they just didn't make a whole bunch of copies, and that's why it's so expensive to find one now. So, well, way to go, guys. Beautiful is here as well. Early Tribe, is it Tribe Called Quest? I'm assuming that's what you guys talking about.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Who else do we have here? Who's hotter, Sydney Sweeney or Sydney Thomas? I mean, they're both blondes with huge boobs. So I mean, is there really any distinct difference between one and the other at this point?
I'm gonna assume no.
Distinction there?
Not really.
Yeah.
Sakura Mita has a question for Cider. Do the Power Rangers use suits from Starship Troopers?
Yes. Yeah. They used them in Power Rangers Lost Galaxy when the Red Ranger's brother got his ass kicked and died falling off a fucking cliff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about the pain. I mean, I've had teeth ripped out of me before. It hasn't been that bad. And fortunately, they give you antibiotics and painkillers. I always take the antibiotics. I rarely ever take the painkillers. Like maybe for like one day, I'll take it. It's like, oh, here, take an Oxy. It's like, I don't even need an Oxy for it. I'm just gonna need it for like one day. It's like, no, I don't want to not be able to drive a car for a week. Yeah. Dental insurance is an absolute joke. It's
for sure.
The worst of the worst.
That's one of the reasons why.
Hey. Okay, SAG has great benefits. You should see their plans. I used to work for Delta Dental, so I would actually see that stuff. It's like, dude, that compared to the average dental plan, it's like.
You talking about for actors, right?
Well, if you understand what Chris Rock said a couple years ago, it's like if normal people knew what rich people got up to behind closed doors, there would be blood in the streets. So I'm just saying, and that's just dental coverage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything cosmetic in Hollywood has to be covered. So, I mean, that just is what it is. Before we get started with tonight's show, some of you guys have already seen this here earlier. I posted earlier today. I did a concept trailer. It's not a trailer per se. It's more of a concept television intro for a fictional show that I have been crafting for about 5 years now. So here's kind of how this whole thing came about, and it's kind of weird because this thing took a lot of different twists and turns, but just for fun, I came up with concepts for like different television shows and like whatnot, like stuff that I wrote. And initially my idea about this show was like, we talked about Degrassi. Cider still has PTSD from Degrassi from a few weeks ago, so I'm very glad that I introduced it to that world. But my idea was essentially do an American version of that. But then that was kind of like the baseline. And I was like, no, we can add a little bit more depth to it than that. So essentially the show kind of got crafted, and I wanted to do it like this. The whole idea was supposed to be like a drama / comedy that was kind of a time capsule for life in the early 2000s for people in our age generation, right? Especially for people who just so happen to be born and raised in Southern California. Now, the town that I particularly chose for this show was Dana Point, which is a real town in California, in Southern California, in Orange County, in that area. So my whole concept was, instead of doing like a American Degrassi, let's just kind of do more of a lighthearted, slightly absurdist, let's say, time capsule that's sort of like a lighthearted Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So over the course of the last few days, I was thinking, okay, can I throw something together to at least make something that I can build off of, and I actually did finish it. So what I'm going to show you guys here is not so much of an exclusive. If you've been subscribed, like I said, you probably have already seen it, but this is a trailer for a show called Dana Point, which I just finished today. And by the way, for what you guys are about to see here, because I know some of you guys can be like, oh, how'd you guys do that? It was about 90% AI, 10% stock footage. And then even the AI stuff is all based on like real locations. So even the AI that was created is still based on like real locations. And so I wanted to make it as realistic as I possibly could. So like I said, this was a first shot. This will be, like I say, a rough draft if I had to submit something for an assignment. But here's something a little fun for you guys. Take a look. I think for a rough draft and a one shot, that looks pretty solid. I mean, there's some points there where you can like clearly tell, but I think for overall it came out pretty well. Beyond Rad had asked me there if it was Google Vio 3 that I used. No, it was not. The engine that I used to kind of shape this whole thing is called C Dance 1.0 Pro. So that one really helped me kind of like shape a lot of the elements of, like I said, real life Dana Point to kind of make that creation there. So, and it's significantly cheaper than Vio 3. I think Cider knows far more about AI than I do, but apparently it is not cheap to use that one at the moment. It takes a lot of money and effort to get that one going here. But for someone who's basically retarded when it comes to artificial intelligence like me, yeah, that one worked out far better for me. AI is taking over Hollywood. AI is going to take over a lot of things. Like, look, I'm of the belief that, look, AI is eventually going to doom all of society at some point, probably somewhere sooner rather than later. So I'm not one of those people be like, oh, AI is the future. It's like, But, you know, for the sake of this, it's like, okay, if I'm just going to do like a minute long BS trailer, then it's like, oh, I can do this. I can figure this out. And that's what I came out there with. So what was your thoughts? Because Cider had asked me something about this earlier, but I think we were talking about it before we got on the show here.
Personally, I like it. I thought it was really well done. But on the other side of it, I had asked you, like, you had mentioned that it was meant to be a comedy.
Yeah.
And had kind of narrowed it down to like an Always Sunny in Philadelphia inspired style of comedy.
Yeah, so essentially the way that I set up the show, because it was completely different from what my original iteration was going to be, but essentially it's where, you know, the show is about the town. So the show is about the people who live in the town. Some of them just happen to be friends, and they just find themselves in random situations that are very entertaining, very humorous. But it's also, like I say, a time capsule of the time. So there's like one episode that is literally just a episode of like The Price is Right. Like there's no plot like whatsoever. It's just the four guys from the show, and they're on The Price is Right playing the game legitimately, right? So it's kind of, that was kind of the take I was going with. I didn't want it to be like as vulgar and over the top as Always Sunny, but I kind of want to do like, you know what, let's do something lighthearted and happy and entertaining, because I feel like that's like the one aspect of entertainment today that is kind of lost on people. It's like just that sense of enjoyment, and that's what I wanted to do essentially with this concept here. So that was kind of the thought process. There's always some things that could be ironed out, you know, here and there, but that's kind of what the whole setup of it was. So like I said, a lot of this was AI generated for the most part, but even the stuff that was AI generated, like some of these are like basically like real photos of like real location. Like this is a real location. It's just, even though the video itself is AI, that's a real location in Dana Point. Some of these things you see here are real locations as well. All the actors obviously are real actors. So I just kind of try to craft it to make it look as realistic as possible, so that somebody was watching this be like, oh yeah, I know where that place is. They kind of be like, okay, this is a show about my town essentially. And yeah, right, the OC, obviously the OC I think may be the most popular show about Orange County that probably ever existed, because there hasn't been that many, for being completely honest with ourselves. But yeah, that was kind of my whole thought process there. So I just wanted to share that to you before we started today's show.
It's well done.
Yep. So who knows, maybe I'll get some more concept stuff later, because I did have an idea about something related to Walking Dead, but you know, like I said, we can save that for another time. But here's how we're going to start tonight's show. We're going to talk about the downfall of media, because there's been 2 blockbuster deals that were announced in the course of the last week, and on paper they sound like they're great ideas that for the companies involved. I'm going to tell you how media as it exists right now is an overinflated house of cards that is probably going to collapse sooner rather than later here. So we're going to start here with the WWE and ESPN. This was the big one, that ESPN has signed a $1.5 billion. What was the actual number? It was something in the billions here.
I think it was like 16 billion or something like
that.
Yeah,
this one doesn't give me the exact number, but I know it was like $1 billion deal of some sort. But essentially the deal here is that ESPN is now going to pay for individual pay-per-views, I guess you can call them premium live events now, $1.6 billion. There you go. So it's a $1.6 billion deal in the course of the next 5 years, where ESPN is going to have the rights to every WWE pay-per-view that they do for essentially the next 5 years. That's $320 million a year just for the pay-per-views for WWE. Pay-per-views that, keep in mind to you, are not even that good. Let me remind you, WrestleMania this year was horrific. It was a terrible WrestleMania, and they're paying $320 million to have the exclusive rights to WrestleMania under this guise that, oh, it's just like the Super Bowl. People are going to love this. We're going to make this the Super Bowl of wrestling. It's like, no, the show stinks. Like, what they're going to do is that Triple H is going to essentially book 4 to 5 match pay-per-views for the foreseeable future and feed it to the ESPN audience as if somehow this is premium entertainment. Sometimes more exposure isn't always a good thing, especially when your product is kind of bad to begin with. But for WWE, it's great because that means that they're now going to make even more money off of terrible content, which is exactly what they've been doing for quite some time. ESPN is set to move the WWE to a brand new streaming service that's supposed to replace ESPN Plus. It's going to cost $30 a month, and it's admission. And essentially what the concept here is that, keep in mind, ESPN has also paid billions upon billions of dollars to purchase the NFL Network and NFL Red Zone. So if you want to watch the NFL Network and Red Zone moving forward, you're going to have this ESPN streaming service in order to watch those. And the WWE is also going to be a part of that as well. So by the way, I want you guys to keep this in mind here. WWE launched the WWE Network in 2014. At the time, they gave you all of their content, which was every episode of Raw, SmackDown, ECW, WCW, anything that ever existed. You got it essentially uncut for about $9.99 a month, and that was it. Pay-per-views were included too. It was a one of its kind, one of the early iterations of kind of the streaming wars that we're here now. On that aspect, you kind of have to give Vince McMahon credit for being ahead of the curve, because essentially every other corporation followed his lead almost immediately afterwards. But that was only $10 a month if you wanted to watch all of WWE's content. Here's how it's changed now. Moving forward, starting in 2026, if you want to watch the pay-per-views for WWE, you now have to have the ESPN service, which is $30 a month. Now, they've been trying to cover this up by saying, well, if you have cable, it's already included in the cable package. Well, the problem is a lot of people don't have cable. They've been cutting the cords for years. So unless you have cable or YouTube TV, which already costs you about $80 a month, then you're still going to have to pay $30 a month regardless. So that's just kind of a roundabout that only is going to affect a very few amount of people. So that's $30 a month for the pay-per-view. Then you have to pay a separate, let's say, $15 to $25 a month for Netflix, which has the rights to, Raw and all the Raw episodes.
People
Peacock,
pay that much for Netflix these days? Oh,
yeah. The premium ad-free version of Netflix is like $25 a month, and that's probably going to go up even more moving forward as well. But on top of that, then you have Peacock, which has all of SmackDown, and I think NXT is still on there at the time frame now, even though WWE is looking to sell that away here in the next couple of years. But for the time being, you have Peacock. That's another $7 a month for that as well. And then you're having all of these things that you have to pay now. So on average, you're probably shelling anywhere from about $60 to $70 a month if you want to be a consistent WWE fan for the foreseeable future, right? That's almost $720 a year, and that's just kind of for like the baseline. If you want like ad-free streaming services, if you want, all this other stuff that comes along with it, you're probably paying well over $1,000 for WWE in 2025, which, keep in mind, is not good. It's not good content, but that's how much that you're going to pay now. So we've come a very, very long way from $9.99, considering where we're at right now. On top of this, the UFC, which is the other side of the TKO coin, and they just announced that they've signed a $7.7 billion deal with Paramount Plus for the next 7 years to host all UFC content, including all future pay-per-views. So effective next year, the UFC pay-per-view model is going to be dead. There will be no more paying $80 a month for pay-per-view. Now, here's what kind of happened here. ESPN, which had the rights to the UFC pay-per-views, they came out and said that, hey, look, we're not happy with the level of buy rates that we're generating here from ESPN Plus. We're not happy with what you guys are giving us here, and we're paying you like $300 to $350 million a year, and we're not seeing any return here. So once that got out, the word got out that, hey, UFC pay-per-views are not very profitable right now. Conor McGregor hasn't had a fight in like 4 years, so that's a big reason why the numbers are down. Their only other big draw is John Jones, and no one knows what John Jones is doing at this point in his life anymore. Plus, he's almost 40.
Not even John Jones.
Not even John Jones. So Paramount came in, and they were like, okay, we'll give you $1.1 billion a year to host all of your content on Paramount, which also is going to include a select number of shows that are going to especially stream on CBS moving forward. So they're going back to network television under this deal as well. But this is a 7-year deal that's going to pay $1.1 billion a year. Like I said, the full slate of 13 number events, 30 fight nights are all coming to Paramount Plus, and a number of shows will be exclusively on CBS as well. So, not to mention, Dana White has confirmed that they are planning on moving forward with the White House event that is supposed to happen next summer on the White House of DC. So, I don't know how that's going to work. With security issues, having a full-fledged MMA pay-per-view on the front yard of the White House, that just seems like a nightmare to me. But this is what they're doing here. But here's the bigger picture that no one's really talking about here, is that when you look at how these deals are being structured, now you can talk about the Amazon deal, the ESPN deal, the Paramount Plus deal. All of these major companies are just giving billions upon billions of dollars to pay for the rights for basically live content that there's no real assurance that you're going to get back what you've paid for it. So here's what I mean by this. Is that, okay, $7.7 billion has been committed by Paramount for the UFC for the next 7 years. That means that if the numbers and the subscriptions that they're assuming that all these UFC fans are going to spend for it don't actually show up, that means that they're not making back what they spent. And a lot of these companies are not making back the money that they're actually spending for the investments here, which means that, guess what? Those streaming services that you guys enjoy, they're going to keep going up. If you guys have noticed, Netflix has skyrocketed here in over the last couple of years. Disney Plus has shot up. Apparently Hulu is about to get essentially merged into Disney Plus, so Hulu won't even exist next year as well. ESPN is doing this whole separate. Yeah, they announced that about a week ago. ESPN is doing this whole thing. So what happens here is that with inflation, all of these deals are just moving up in value, moving up in value, moving up in value. But the product that's actually being displayed out there by the fans who support it is not good. WWE's on-screen product is not good right now. The UFC's on-screen product, the fights that they're putting up, is not good right now. Fight fans have been complaining about the fact that the pay-per-views are increasingly getting worse and worse because there's no entertaining fights. You can look at, like I said, the big deal with basketball and baseball, and those numbers haven't really been very hot in the last couple of years too, but they're just getting a bunch of money. So you just got to think to yourself, with all of this money that people are throwing out here, is it going to reach a certain point where essentially the value is no longer worth what you're paying? Or can you even afford to pay this much anymore? There's now talks of like ESPN and Fox combining a streaming service, or at least combining their services in the one, so that you can use both of their services simultaneously. And part of that is because of the fact they're all spending all of this money to the NBA, the NFL, UFC, WWE, and one company can't afford all this. They can't. So now they have to team up with each other in order to afford the rights for all these shows. Like the NFL, for example, they're going to be on Amazon, Peacock, ESPN, Apple TV, Netflix.
Yep.
Oh, so they've sold it out to everything. Well, all of these companies can't pay $1 billion or billions of dollars each for the deal, so they now have to find ways to team up with one another just so they can afford the deals that they've signed on to. Like this can't possibly last forever. This is going to crater at some point, and when it does crater, it's going to bring down the entire corporate industry of media altogether. And this is kind of the big problem. all of these corporations are publicly traded companies. Legally, they have to essentially BS you into believing that everything is fine and everything is growing, because if they don't BS you into believing that, they're going to lose a massive amount of money on the stock level, and then they won't be able to afford anything that they have. So where are they going to go? Where's the NFL going to go when Disney loses money, or Paramount loses money, or Fox loses money? Like, where are they going to go? There's going to be nowhere for them to go, because it's going to get to a point where no one can afford them anymore. And when that happens, that's when you start having bankruptcies and consolidations, and it's going to get very, very ugly. And I don't think that anyone's really looking at the big picture here with these deals. But I'll start here with you, Rob. What's your take on the new deals from Paramount and ESPN with the UFC and WWE? What do you kind of notice about kind of the media structure right now as it pertains to live events and sports?
Well, we didn't even touch on NFL Sunday Ticket, which I mean, that's not a new deal. That was a deal put in place last offseason, and obviously, last season I think was the first year that YouTube TV had it, and I had it. I subscribed to it. It's a really good service. It's not worth the $280 to $300 they were charging people for it. And then when I got the email this year, they wanted to charge me $500 as a return customer. New customers get it for less than $200. On top of it, they've done the monthly payment, so you can get NFL Sunday Ticket if you're a new customer for $24 a month in 8 payments. And so it's like they're doing the subscription model just like everybody else. And by the way, they overpaid by so much to the NFL to get the exclusive rights, and then not enough people got it, because within 3 weeks they were having heavy discounts on it. And so, look, I'm a NFL football junkie. I love it. I will watch it. I will probably watch. I am not paying $500. Okay, I'm not going to get raked over the coals because you have a bunch of idiots as consumers. I'm sorry.
Yep.
It's just like.
And real quick, to your point, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. They overpaid for the product. They're losing out on their ass because they overpaid. So now they're trying to defer that cost to you, the viewer. Be like, here, you're now going to pay $500 because we overpaid for the NFL. It's the same thing with Netflix. Netflix is like, yeah, we gave WWE $500 million for a show that's been losing viewers for 25 years. So now you guys are going to pay $25 to $30 a month for Netflix because we need to recoup our cost. It's going to get to a point where, guess what? You're not going to be able to get enough money from subscribers to make up the difference from these outrageous deals that you're signing.
They're underestimating how many people are just going to go to sites like, and I'm not going to say them here, but there are sites where you get really good, high quality streams of pretty much any sporting event in the world. And there's a lot, there's networks and there's communities, and you're screwing yourself here. Like if you put too high of a price tag on your product, people are not going to buy it. Now, I mean, the boomers will, because they want the convenience of the service and whatever. That's fine. But there's a lot of consumers and for the business model going forward that are just going to say no thank you. And they're still football fans. They'll still go to the games. They'll still spend money, but they're not going to spend money on literally being taken advantage of. And again, this is across, the UFC. You have WWE. You have all these different deals that you'd think are just individual business deals about that particular industry. But we keep seeing these same patterns emerge over and over and over again. And you have a limited amount of companies who own the majority of the media in this country. And that number has only gotten smaller and smaller over the last 30 years since I was a kid. It doesn't look good. And it feels like they're just spreading out the debt. It's like the all the entertainment companies are like spreading out the debt. There's only 5 of them left, 4 of them left. And at some point, it's just going to choke them. And you're right. They're trying to convince the stockholders, hey, we're profitable. Hey, we have exciting projects on the horizon. Hey, we own all these different properties, and it's going to choke you. You're not going to be able to pay the bills. You're not going to be able to sustain any kind of profit off of these products because the returns are diminishing. And guess what? Young people don't know enough. They haven't lived long enough to realize, things are much worse now than they were 20 years ago, where these entertainment companies had much more competition and they had to put out a good product, because if they didn't, people would go somewhere else. And now that there's a limited supply, it's like, hey, we got all the brands you like. Hey, we've got all the things you like. Remember this? But none of it's good. Like all the stuff that and obviously I'm an outlier from the average person, but all the stuff I'm interested in, even if it's stuff that's still around like Batman or Spider-Man or whatever, WWF, it's old stuff. I'm interested in how it used to be. I'm interested in like the old stuff that's already been out for 20 years. I'm not interested in anything new, and as a movie lover, dude, I have been complaining about how bad movies have been since I got on Twitter to talk about movies. So I realize I'm a broken record at this point, but it's because it's gotten so bad. And I thought, you think you hit rock bottom? No, there's literally miles to go before you realize what they're willing to put out there. And so that's really all I have to say. I know that's a bit of a long rant, but all of this is connected. All this, the diminishing returns, that there's nothing good anymore. The value and the quality has absolutely taken a nosedive.
It's everywhere. TV is down. Movies are obviously down. I mean, we're talking about the big blockbuster movies. The video games are down. I'm talking about the big blockbuster movies, like, was it Superman and Fantastic Four? Those are like two of the big blockbuster movies. They're both down. They're both probably not going to make any money, or they have to pray that they get like a big boost from like VOD sales or something like that to boost their money. But those are down. Like, people are, like I say, it's going to get to a point where it's like you're going to realize that people don't have money like you think that they do. And I don't know if you guys know this, financially, we're still not that much better off than we were a few months ago. I mean, inflation is still very high. It's not going to get any better. People are still struggling to find work. And like I said, it hasn't like all of a sudden people just have an endless supply of like the spendable cash for all of these streaming services that you want people to invest in. Like I said, $30 a month for ESPN, $25 for Netflix, $15 for Peacock. And then, like I said, if you want basic internet coverage, you only pay $55, $110 a month. Or if you just want to get like YouTube, like eventually you're talking about like people who like, am I this much of a fan of this product that I'm willing to pay $150 a month, or even worse, like $1,900 a year just for wrestling? Just for not even good wrestling, bad wrestling. The likes of like Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins and Rhea Ripley. Like, is it really worth that much of an investment, or is this time for me to tap out? TW, what's your take on this whole thing?
Honestly, this is not surprising. I mean, it's a shame that yet another big company is letting itself get worked by stupid, phony, fake wrestling yet again, and it's just going to blow up like the Fox deal and like so many other deals after it. And as for like the Paramount Plus thing, I'm just so ready to honestly go back to 2000 style, where it was just like cable and DVDs, because all these streaming services, there's no point. You honest to God paid less for cable. You paid less for Comcast. You paid less for ATT. I forgot what thing they had. And you paid less for Dish. Honest to God, you really did. So it's like, I'm just ready to go back to that, because screw streaming services.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the whole point of the streaming services was that, I get to just pick what I want to watch, and I don't have to like get an unnecessary package like cable used to present to us. I'll just pick what I want to watch. And now we've gone full circle, because all of these companies are working together now, essentially creating an online version of cable that you still have to go through the cable companies in order to get the internet to even have any of these streaming services. So really, you're paying basically cable prices, or old cable prices, for your internet, and now you're putting money on top of that for all the individual streaming services that you need to actually watch the content that you want to consume.
So
great? We've actually made it worse.
Yeah, one of the greatest things, early, like living on my own when I was like in my early 20s, was Netflix Instant. Okay, so I had a PS3, and there's this app. There's an app called Netflix Instant, and it was great because it was free with your Netflix subscription, and you could just you could watch as many things that were on there, and it was good because they had a relationship with Stars, so they actually had good content on there. They actually had movies you wanted to see, TV shows you wanted to see, and then they just fucked themselves over, very slowly over in the 2010s. But I remember how I was like, this is a real thing. this is sweet. And they just perpetually ruin their own business. And it doesn't matter ultimately because Netflix is worth so much money and they're you know what I mean? They have a boatload of money. And so I don't know how sustainable their model is or whatever, but as a user using their product, it's just gotten worse and worse over time. I know Cider was saying that he couldn't believe people still subscribe to it. I have Netflix, unfortunately. I do. And I don't even have a good excuse for having it anymore because even Arrested Development, I bought the DVDs. So I don't even use Netflix to watch one of my favorite comedy shows anymore. So it's probably time just to be like, okay, I don't use this anymore, and it's not a good service.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get much better. Cider, what's your take on this real quick?
To be honest, it's just a headache. I have YouTube Premium because I don't like ads, and I get everything I need. I don't want to sit down and watch some lame ass modern television show that's just going to preach at me. And I remember cool shit from my past. I don't have to sit through 45 minutes of some stuff I don't want to sit through, and I can just go to the cool 5-minute part that was the best part of that episode. Watch that and go hell yeah, and go on my day. So I don't know. I have I've hacked the system, baby. You know, I don't need no cable. I just need people to put clips of shows up on X and on YouTube, and I'm all set. Like that's how I've been watching Gozuger from Super Sentai. So I'm up to date with that. Some very nice people go ahead and fan translate that and put the whole episode up on X. The whole damn episode. And I just watch it. Like hell yeah. Who cares? You know, the problem is that no matter what they do, at the end of the day, if the stuff to get you on that platform sucks, nobody's gonna bother with it. It's not prestige television. It's just like Netflix. You remember they're doing shows now that they say what they're doing on screen, so that because you're not watching.
Oh no! The auto. Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah. So that's what Netflix is doing now. The characters themselves do it though, Rob. It's not like the auto narrator that's like, and then Becky tickled her butthole. No, she says, I'm tickling my butthole.
I wanted to rip my hair. I heard about it a couple of weeks ago where one of the podcasts I listened to especially about like movies and stuff is the Brady Snellis podcast. And an industry insider was telling him about this. And he was like, are people fucking insane? Like, I mean, they're writing shows for people who are not basically paying attention. You know what?
Yeah. So there's a lot here. Just real quick before we move on to our next topic and let Rick in on the discussion here. Like I said, this is a house of cards. It's going to fall, especially when people really start getting hit in the wallet and they just have to be like, you know what, I can't afford any of this stuff. What are the media companies going to do when people can't afford any of these streaming services anymore? And they've already got billions on the books invested in this. Not to mention, like I said, what value is that going to have if we're talking about financial downturn in the future? It's not going to be good for a lot of these people. They're going to get hit very, very hard. Real quick, we are talking about WWE, and this is just the hilarity and the people in the wrestling bubble who just have the audacity to think that they're good, genuine people. Remember we talked about Hogan passing away a couple weeks ago, I should say. And we're talking about during the tribute that they did on Raw, there was a few people who apparently had boo-boo face because they had to sit there and honor Hogan. Some chose not to even show up at all. And if Billy Body is to be believed, which he can be very hit and miss with his information, but if he to be believed, the likes of Becky Lynch, Paul Heyman, The New Day, and Rhea Ripley all did not want to appear for Hulk Hogan's tribute after he passed away on WWE television, by the way, just throwing that out there, because they all had ill feelings towards him. And I just thought to myself, imagine the fucking audacity of someone like Paul Heyman to protest somebody else's memorial under the grounds that they were a terrible person. You understand that there are people who are dead and broke specifically because of Paul Heyman? Like, what bizarro world am I living in right now where Paul Heyman has the audacity to believe that he in any way, shape, or form has the moral high ground on anything, on anybody?
Exactly. The way he damn people.
And then Becky Lynch and Rhea, are you fucking kidding me? Like say about you want about the wrestlers of the past, at least they weren't, I don't know what's the word, prideful enough, delusional enough to not convince themselves that they were good people. These people are shitty people who think that they're the heroes of the story, which is just absolutely amazing to me. But hey, as long as you know that there are wrestling marks in these media companies to be like, oh yeah, let's pay $350 million for this because then we're going to get Steve Austin and The Rock on our network. It's like, keep thinking that, you morons. Yeah, by the way, if you guys have never heard that story, Tommy Dreamer admitted to back in 2001 after ECW failed. Paul Heyman didn't tell the wrestlers that ECW went out of business. He just showed up on WWE, and that's when his locker room found out that the company was dead. Tommy Dreamer talked about nearly going to WrestleMania with a gun and killing Paul Heyman live on commentary, and he almost did it by his own admission. That's how much that's how big of a scumbag Paul Heyman is. New Jack hated and despised Paul Heyman for all the lies and everything he did to him. And then Paul Heyman had the audacity to sit there and do a tribute to New Jack, knowing New Jack hated his guts before he died.
And ECW was like half and half. It was like half of the guys, and maybe that's being too generous, were going to have a spot in WWF. You know, Sabu, Taz, you know, whoever, the Dudley Boys, they came over. But yeah, there were guys like Tommy Dreamer, New Jack. They were never going to be marketed and brought over. Like Tommy Dreamer was known as the human punching bag because every Saturday night when they had these matches, he would just get split wide open, like just blood everywhere. Whether he won or he lost, that you would at least get to see Tommy Dreamer's head get cut open. So, you know, here's the thing. To deal with like these tough and tumble like guys, business guy, you have to be, you know, you have to respect them on some level. For these guys to react this way, you would have had to do something so fucked up that, you know what I mean, that it pales in comparison to how they were treated in the industry, how they were treated by other wrestlers, managers, whatever, business people. Paul Heyman is a massive piece of shit, and I think that he's an effective promoter. I think he's an effective personality because he's such a terrible piece of shit person. Like there's people that are just good at playing the role or playing up that persona. No, that's just Paul Heyman. That's just who he is. So it's unfortunate that he's still in the business.
Paul Heyman is a professional bullshitter. He bullshits anyone who's below him, and he kisses the ass of just the right people above him so he can keep his spot, and that's exactly what he's been doing. So like I said, he's absolutely brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant in playing the game because when Vince McMahon's in charge, he's kissing Vince McMahon's ass. When Triple H is in charge, he's kissing Triple H's ass. If Vince McMahon were to come back tomorrow, he would be kissing Vince McMahon's ass. He knows exactly what he needs to do to get himself over. But yeah, let's jump over to another topic here. Let's talk about South Park. Now, this is kind of a follow-up to a story that I almost talked about, and I kind of ignored it, to be honest with you, because when it comes to South Park, kind of rewind here, a few weeks ago we were talking about the fact that because of the Paramount Skydance merger, the creators of South Park were super, super angry and upset that they weren't able to get their episodes out when they wanted it to. It got delayed a few weeks. There was some pushback because the deal wasn't exactly finalized, right? And then essentially what happened is that right when the merger got finalized, then Paramount completed a deal with South Park. And apparently it was a new deal for 5 years where I think they're getting paid anywhere between $300 and $350 million a year to do South Park. So we just talked about all these overinflated media deals. Now the creators of South Park are getting paid $350 million a year to do their show. Again, none of these numbers make any sense, but that was kind of what we just talked about there in the first half. So with the green light, they went on and they did their first 2 episodes, and they've been going very, very hard against Donald Trump, and not only just Trump, because I think the first episode was very, very heavily against Trump, which is why I kind of ignored it, because it's like, yeah, look, they've said many times that they're not big fans of Trump, and this is not the first time they've made fun of Trump on his show. Like, they did the whole Mr. Garrison Trump thing several years ago, and I think they even said then they just got to a point where it's like, this there's nothing more we can do with Trump at this point. It's like it'll just be regurgitating the same thing, which is why they kind of moved away from it. Well, apparently they're all in back against Trump now, and I think the issue that broke them, which seems to be the issue that has broken a lot of people on the left over the course of the last few weeks, is the issue of ICE, because a lot of people are getting detained, arrested, and deported right now, and the left are very, very furious about this. And I'm going to talk about some of the irony about that here in a second, but essentially over the course of the last several weeks, South Park has done a couple of episodes going very, very hard against Trump. Now, I don't know if this is going to be the theme for the entire season, even though it would not surprise me if it was the theme for the entire season, but they've been going after Trump, they've been going after J.D. Vance, Charlie Kirk. For whatever reason, he got attacked. What's the Homeland Security guy, Kristi Noem, I think her name, who used to be the governor of South Dakota. They've been going after her very hard over the course of the last few weeks, which is kind of why I kind of paused for a minute. 'Cause I thought to myself like this: it's like, South Park has notoriously made fun of everything that they possibly can. There's been no respect to celebrities, dead or alive, to religions. Like they've been going after everyone. So in a lot of ways, we just give them a pass because they've literally mocked everyone, right? So it's kind of hard to really get mad at South Park for anything, given their history over the last 26 years. The reason why I felt like this was a little bit different is because it's one thing if they were just going after Trump, because they did the whole bit with replacing him with Saddam Hussein, where he's the one that's making love to Satan now rather than Saddam was. But I guess who's ever running the social media account, which I have to believe that, they're getting the green light from Matt and Trey, if we're being honest with ourselves here, has really, really been very, very upset about anyone from the Trump administration who has seemingly, I guess, replied to them on social media. So here you go. This was, so here's the thing. Some of the people in the Trump administration have been trying to co-opt the attacks that South Park has placed against them. For a couple people, I guess it's worked, like J.D. Vance and Charlie Kirk. For everyone else, they seem to be very, very upset by this. So when Homeland Security posted this screenshot, this is obviously the Twitter account for Homeland Security, posted the screenshot of basically South Park lambasting them, they replied, "Oh, so we're irrelevant now? Go eat a bag of dicks." That was their reply, right? And then it seems like that their replies towards, I guess, Kristi Noem has been, I guess, a little bit more vicious than, let's just put it to you this way. When they were going after P. Diddy or Lizzo or there was another big person they went after not too long ago, but I can't remember their name off the top of my head. It seemed like they let the episode do the talking for them, but now it seems like not only are they going all in on the episodes, but they're also going in on the aftermath towards the episodes, which I can only assume means that Trey or Matt are very, very upset by the whole ICE situation, because that seems to be the core of their whole complaints here. Like I said, I can't play any of the videos here because Paramount will block it. That's just the way Paramount is, so I wish I can show you some of the clips here of what I'm talking about, but they just will not allow you to play it here on this show. But essentially, like I said, they've gone after Trump, they've gone after J.D. Vance, Kristi Noem here. Charlie Kirk has been the subject of this here too. So this has got a lot of people talking about, is this something bigger than it is? Is it just South Park being South Park, or does it seem like there's a little bit more skin in the game this time around with this particular administration here, right? Because they've also released something else here just earlier today where they kind of doubled down on their Kristi Noem shooting dogs bit, which I can only assume is a reference to, I guess one of them are libertarians, so I guess it's just the general, the joke of libertarians, how they always say the cops shoot dogs. Like, it's just the way that it is. Like, you guys have heard that joke many times before, but they've gone after her very, very hard here over the last week, probably even more so than Trump. And it seems like I said, ICE is the core I guess issue that's driving this recent run here. So I want to talk about this kind of in two parts, because there's one part that we'll talk about with the Dean Cain situation, and one I want to focus on here. Cider, I'll start this one off of you. Is this just South Park being South Park? Like I said, there's only been 2 episodes so far, so this has just been the first 2 episodes. I don't know if the whole season that they're going to do is going to be based on this, so maybe we'll have our answer sooner rather than later. But is this just South Park being South Park, or do you think there's a little bit more something here, that something has apparently switched with Matt and Trey, that they're going after Trump considerably a lot harder than they did the last administration? I don't think they even touched Biden at all in the 4 years that he was president. So what do you see going on here?
Well, to be honest with you, it's going to be just it's going to come down to the money. And the other thing is that they're quite upset about the Epstein files, which has been like a center point to his whole thing.
I'll address that point here too, because like I said, it's very ironic that people are upset about the Epstein thing while they're bitching about ICE. But we'll get to that here in a minute. Go ahead.
No, it's like those things aren't connected. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
well, in a way, it
isn't feeding that. You know.
But my point is that, okay, everyone on the left is claiming to be completely upset about the Epstein thing. Took them 6 years to get upset for some reason, but now they're upset now. But at the same time, okay, you're upset because you believe that Trump was involved in some kind of child prostitution, pedophile island thing. Okay, great. I'm assuming that your anger is about the art of human trafficking and prostitution, right? So then why are you bitching about ICE? Do you not understand that what's happening with ICE is direct result of human trafficking and sex prostitution? Like, who do you think is coming across the border right now? Like, who do you think is responsible for the majority of known human trafficking here in the United States of America right now?
Republicans, obviously. But
of course.
The ICE thing is that the secret between both the right and left is that they don't want to get rid of illegal immigration. It solves too many problems for both sides. The right wants it for free labor, free, cheap labor they can threaten if they get too rowdy. They can just remove them if they get too rowdy. Those strawberry picking Mexicans want to unionize. Adios, amigo. Back over the border you go. Tell your friend. And then you end up with the left who need a voting base that'll remain loyal for the rest of their lives because they get free shit. Mm-hmm. So that's why they don't want to get rid of illegal immigration. So that's why Trey and Matt or whoever they are, they're kind of split over this, is because they come down closer to the libertarian side most of the time with their humor, but libertarians tend to lean into the left side of politics more than the right on certain issues. And when it comes to rounding up people, the libertarians tend to be pretty not okay with rounding up people. Mm-hmm. And again, mass deportations are different than going and getting the Jews and putting them on a train. That's very different. But the problem is that there are mistakes that can be made and have been made, and the libertarian says we don't need to do this with a chainsaw. So and that's okay.
Two things here. One, rooftop is that actually true? Because that does make it a little bit more funny. Because I thought they were just making.
Yes.
Okay. I thought that bit was generally like a bit against cops. That's why I thought the bit was.
No.
So
I think she wrote in her book that she had to shoot her dog. I don't know if it was a rabid dog or just like an extra dog that she had in the litter. But yes, she did. I don't know about the goat, but she
was in the news. When she talked about it, it was in the news. I just wanted to point out real quick that South Park did an episode basically, I don't want to say promoting illegal immigration. At the time, I thought it was funny, but obviously I was definitely more liberal back then. With the whole guys saying, they took our jobs, and so we're going to have this massive orgy to prevent the immigrants from coming here in the future. And it's just like this giant, it's like, you know what I mean? So like these guys, and I mean, Basketball, that ridiculous movie made by David Zucker, Basketball. Like, I've watched these guys for 25 fucking years, and I think they're fucking hilarious. Mm-hmm. This is when people were saying when the Trump episode came out that it's satire, and I'm like, okay, well, fine. Well, what's it satirizing? I mean, it's a rehash. It's a copy of an old bit of the old Saddam Hussein bit, and even with illegal immigration or being against ICE, it's like they've made their statements in the past. This is not really anything new. I would agree with Cider. I think in general, politically, they're about freedom. They're about, your rights, but they do lean to the left on certain issues. And even if they are not in step with Hollywood, they still kind of probably view Trump as acting in a way that they don't like. So I'm not terribly surprised by this. But again, even the Charlie Kirk shit. What is the Charlie Kirk stuff? That's Ben Shapiro in 2005. You know what I mean? It's like we've been here before, and I'm sick and tired of being like, oh, it's just culture war shit. That's all it is. And like South Park's best stuff really doesn't have to do with culture war shit. It's more just like it's about being funny. It's about looking at hypocrisy. It's about looking at how human beings are just, flawed things and largely don't change. But taking all of that into account, that's what they've been successful with. Pop culture, like making fun of pop culture figures. But whenever, and they've done a good job staying away from things that I feel are inherently political. Now it just feels like, hey, we're out of ideas, so let's rehash what some episodes that were successful in a political vein. I don't know, but
yeah, like my thing, like I said, when it was just Trump, or even you want to just say the Trump administration that they have a problem with, it's like, okay, fine. It's like, where does Charlie Kirk like go into like this realm here? Because it's like he's not directly attached to the administration that I know him. Now, of course, he obviously played a big role in organizing events for Trump leading up to the campaign, but that's kind of been more of his role, just like organizer and essentially personality. It's not like he's actually has like an actual title like in the White House. So that to me was kind of like, really, Charlie Kirk? And then it's like, people have debated about this. Like even Crowder had talked about this like here too. It was like, and this is before the second episode came out, when it was just like the first one. It was just like, look, they do this all the time. Like we're not going to like make a big stink about it here. But I think that if this amplifies in the course of like the next few weeks to where, okay, it's not just like a 1 or 2 episode, like, this becomes like the whole thing. That's when people are going to start having a little bit of question. Because something I've noticed here too, because you guys had mentioned that they did some episodes praising illegal immigration. The one that kind of raised my eye was the one where they did essentially the apology to Al Gore, where I guess they accepted at some point in the last few years that climate change was real, quote unquote. So they had to do an apology to like the Al Gore, be like, oh, I guess you were right about everything. I was like, he wasn't though. Like everything you mocked him for 20, he was objectively wrong about those things. So it's like, why are we?
Pig.
Exactly. So it's
that
like,
was
why?
Such a great fucking because it was a recurring bit, so it wasn't just one episode, but that was so fucking funny. And yeah, did they do that? Did they actually issue an apology? Because that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, and so that was one of the episodes they did, like literally, like in the last like 5 or 6 years, where it was basically just like it wasn't even like a subtle like apology to Al Gore. It was basically like, yeah, oops, something like around those lines. Here.
Because if we go back to An Inconvenient Truth, and just for the record, he did not win the Oscar. He was not the producer, but if you look at that documentary, how many of the statements that were made there have proven accurate? They did say that the Glacier National Park would be gone by now. It's still there. So we have to judge whether he was right or wrong based on whatever An Inconvenient Truth showed. So I don't know why they're apologizing to him. I don't know.
Apparently that episode of South Park where they apologized to him came out in 2018. So like I said, it was like several years ago, but they did do it. And yeah, look, Crowder's a douche. I think everyone at this point kind of knows that he's an egomaniac, so it's really not much of a breaking news type of thing here.
I don't know. Again, I don't know. I guess maybe they thought Charlie Kirk is so closely identified with Trump, and how he adores him and thinks he's the greatest thing to ever come around. Charlie Kirk, for whatever his flaws, at least has the right attitude. He's laughing this off, and he's like, "Oh, okay, that's great." Mm-hmm. What, isn't he even selling a shirt based off something that the Cartman Charlie Kirk figure said? So yeah, he's taking the right attitude.
I mean, and then there's nothing. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I think there are some people who are like, "Oh, don't you know that they're making fun of you?" I'm sure that he realizes that they're making fun of him. But so what? He's laughing crying all the way to the bank, as the saying goes. So it doesn't matter to him. He doesn't care, and that's the attitude that a lot of people should take. We shouldn't care. I don't know about this ICE thing. I don't know why these two white guys are, hell bent on defending me from being grabbed and tossed across the river. Bless them if that's what they think they're doing. But I don't know why they even are so bent out, so obsessed with it. I haven't seen the episodes. I haven't seen South Park since Kenny died. So I have no idea what's
And,
going
and to
on.
be fair, South Park has kind of had a rough patch ever since COVID, because I think even longtime fans of South Park know that they haven't released that many episodes ever since COVID happened. Like there's been a handful of seasons where like it's only been like 6 or something episodes, and it's been a long time in between. So I don't know if it was the whole thing with Paramount that kind of interfered with, or it was COVID, but they haven't really been producing as much content over the last few years as they should have been. So now it feels like they're trying to like make a statement here with the whole Trump stuff, which I guess if you've been like kind of down for the last few years, it wouldn't exactly be like a dumb move. And then another thing about this here too is that when it comes to South Park's portrayal of this whole situation is that what I've noticed is that people, like I said, not Charlie Kirk, JD Vance has been trying to like co-opt the whole thing and just like say, oh yeah, they're making fun of us, I guess we made it, right? And people have been very, very angry. It's like, no, they're mocking you. It's like, well, first of all, there's no win situation for the administration by trying to make like a big deal about this, right? Like Trump obviously made his statement on like the first episode where he kind of slammed them, but everyone else has kind of been like, whatever, make fun of us, we don't care. Because if you try to push back against it, that's just going to make Matt and Trey a martyr, which is only going to make them more popular. It's only going to make South Park more popular, because now all of a sudden, all the same people who were offended by everything that South Park has been doing as far as like trans situation and woke people and Lizzo and all those episodes they were accepted then, now all of a sudden they love all the Trump stuff because they hate Trump too. So you're just going to make them a martyr with those people. So I guess they're kind of in the situation. It's like, well, look, it's not like we're going to come out with an episode of a show that's going to like hit back at the creators of South Park. So it's like you're in a no-win situation. Because like I say, if you try to make a big deal out of it, they're just going to make another episode that's going to roast you even harder. So that's just kind of like their whole way of thinking of things. And then as Rob was saying earlier, with this whole idea of satire that the left tries to promote, here's the problem with this, and you know this, and Rick knows this, watching all these Adam McKay movies over the last several years have been labeled satire. It's not satire. It's basically left-wing whining and jumping up and down and throwing themselves on the floor to the point where you're literally screaming at the audience because they won't accept your propaganda, just like they did with Don't Look Up. You remember that whole film that came out a couple of years ago? That was absolutely excruciating. And this is the problem with the left when they want to attack someone through the art of quote-unquote comedy or satire, is that when it doesn't work and another gets co-opted against them, or the characters that they make become popular, then they get angry because it was never about the comedy in their heart. It was about them going after people. And now they're upset that essentially their attack on other people didn't work. We talked about this several months ago with The Boys, about how the creator of The Boys was upset that Homelander became a popular character that people loved. He was upset because you're not supposed to like Homelander. And the reason why he's upset is because when he wrote and created Homelander, he was thinking of Trump. So he wrote Homelander to be a caricature of Trump, and he hates Trump. So when he sees that people like Homelander, he gets upset because in his mind, it's Trump. And he sees people liking Trump. That's what makes him mad. It was like, well, that's the problem when you try to go after people in the art of, media and trying to use these attacks through satire, and they don't work. This is what you end up creating for yourself, and it doesn't help things like at all, right?
Well, this isn't new. You brought up Adam McKay when he did Vice. We're supposed to think that that Cheney is evil and like satanic, but from what I understand, the final speech that he gives, audiences actually applauded. It's like they actually thought he did a good job, and you could go even further back. Norman Lear created Archie Bunker to be like, we're supposed to hate him, and what ended up, he actually became quite likable to a lot of people. I barely know the show. Point being, don't expect the audience to react the same way that you think they will react when you write something. You can't control how an audience thinks. Real quick, I saw an early preview of Relay. There's a certain point where they type out in the Relay system, caller is crying. The audience laughed. I mean, I don't think you're supposed to laugh when someone is crying, but that's the end result. So don't think that your audience is going to agree with you. You have to write a character that the audience is going to love or hate, but based on what they do, not on your own personal feeling. People just get caught up in it. They just are absolutely obsessed. that people will agree with them, and so they'll write something and think, "Oh yeah, we're just they're going to agree with them." It
Well,
doesn't always
here's the
work
thing
that way.
too with this is, I mean, this is true for anti-heroes, but it's true for villains too. I mean, people like competency. They like winners. They like they like, you know what I mean? And so Dick Cheney fits that to a T. I mean, he was a man who was by every measure a monster, an institutional clog that did nothing but you know, stop good laws from being passed and covered things up, and was really the chief architect of the whole response to 9/11. So I mean, it just was not a good man. But that movie is more about, well, it's like, I did the job that you elected me and Bush to do, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I kept you safe, so I have nothing to apologize. Like that kind of just straight up like, go fuck yourself if you don't like it is just like people are attracted to that. They like competence. They like that level of ability. And whether he's a villain or a hero or whatever, however you see him, that's what makes art interesting, by the way. That's why I keep going to the movies, because I want to be surprised by how I feel about something. It was like the end of The Wolf of Wall Street, which I feel at the time very few people got, which was where Leonardo DiCaprio is selling them this pen, because they're all looking at him as if he has something to teach them after he, after he got rung up on these SEC charges, after he had been a convicted felon. They're still looking to the guy because they think he has a secret. He's going to tell you a secret to be just like him. And it's just like, holy fuck. And so Vice, The Wolf of Wall Street, some of these movies that have come out the last 10 or 15 years, they're commentary on who we are. It's the director's commentary on America, on Americans, about what we fall for, about what the institutions that we're glued to, all that stuff, and that's satire, by the way. The Wolf of Wall Street, that's satire. Yeah. A lot of people when that movie came out, they were like, I can't believe he's celebrating all this hedonism. It's like, it's supposed to be, it's a fucking tongue-in-cheek thing. It's not going to end well for him. He's gonna fucking end up.
I was saying that. Did you not see the ending to the movie? Like it wasn't. It's the same thing with The Irishman. It's like it wasn't celebrating mob culture. They all died in prison. Like that's the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, people. And this is kind of where we are just in media. You have emotional people basically having temper tantrums and then feeding into it as art, and then you wonder why everything stinks and then no one wants to consume any of this stuff anymore. This is probably why you don't have qualified people anymore in charge of making anything that can be deemed entertainment, and that's just the sad reality of it.
You have the same issue with Stephen Colbert. You have the same issue with Howard Stern. They all come from this idea that we're not here to entertain you. We are here to not indoctrinate, but to convert you to our beliefs, because we are good people. We are the moral people. We are the smart people. And that's not what's happened. That's not what's happened with Colbert and Stern, and apparently with South Park. They're just trying to use their show to promote their agenda. Fine. I mean, if that's what they want to do, it's their show. But if they don't get the viewers, they have only themselves to blame, or the listeners in Stern's case. If they don't get the viewers, the listeners, because they said, we don't want you, or we're going to make fun of you, then they have themselves to blame. But
do you find it ironic, Rick, that both Howard Stern and South Park in the same decade, in the 90s, literally became famous by shaking up the status quo, by poking fun at, I mean, all the people Howard Stern mocked, from Rosie O'Donnell to like all the people on The View, and like South Park, like, just absolutely like lampooning people. And I'm trying to think. I think that was Rosie O'Donnell too. Geez,
well, they took on Scientology.
Target, huh?
I remember that.
And, by the way, Trump made fun of Rosie. These people have more. By the way, Trump, Stern, and the guys from South Park have much more in common than like the people that Stern and the South Park guys work for or work with. And it's like, do you guys not see some weird disconnect here? Like, what's wrong with this picture? You guys constantly push the envelope. You constantly made fun of sacred cows. That was the point. The point was to push the envelope and to be funny in the process. And if the joke fails, the joke fails. But that's what made pop culture interesting and worth engaging in. Now, where we have this rigid corporate culture where it's about I don't know, the culture war and shit. I'm just not interested.
But
That's not funny. That's not interesting.
You have to remember, Rob, that before it was a very standard political situation. Now we're about to be under an authoritarian regime that's going to concentrate people in concentration camps and is going to have a
concentrated camps with alligators.
Well, I guess they'll be like in Live and Let Die. They'll have to jump over the alligators to escape. And you're going to redistrict several states so that you could have Republicans in permanent power, and so they can suspend the Constitution and have Trump elected to a third, fourth, fifth term. By the way, this is not something that I said. This is what the Congress person said in a meeting that I attended without planning to, that they're going to redistrict Texas to get 5 additional seats. That way they could have a permanent Republican majority, and that way they would allow Trump to run for a third term. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm hearing this from the elected official, who's a very nice person, by the way. And I can't vote for her because I live right outside her district. Point being, I don't understand. Well, I'm sorry. I got off the topic. Basically, it's their thinking. The creators, they think that that their shows are there to guide us through this fascist takeover. That's what it is, and I guess the South Park is doing the same thing.
So, like Neil had asked, do you think that South Park is going to end up like Stephen Colbert? Well, here's the thing. Stephen Colbert, this is why I think it's funny, because remember, a couple weeks ago, everyone was saying that Stephen Colbert only got kicked off of CBS because of Trump, right? Because the authoritarian regime was trying to get rid of Colbert. It's like, well, Colbert and South Park are on the same parent company. So they got rid of Colbert, who apparently was losing them $40 million a year, which was a financial reason why they got rid of him. But then again, they just got a brand new $1.5 billion deal with the South Park guys, who I believe that's what, $1.5 billion in 5 years. That should be what, $300 million a year, if I'm not mistaken, if my math is right there.
5 years, yeah, I think you're right.
So that's $300 million a year for South Park. Now, like I said, they haven't been able to produce as much as they probably would have liked to over the last couple of years. But then again, that just begs the same question we were asking for all the other ones. Is South Park in 2025 worth $300 million a year? I guess if you're going to judge it based on the overall library of South Park episodes, like if you're going on based on the 26-year history of South Park, you can easily say, yeah, because that's a big video library. I don't know if the show itself as a mainstay in 2025 is worth nearly that much, but there's probably more baked into it than we realize, so. But yeah, so we're going to move over to this story here, because this story involves Sider's best friend forever, Dean Cain, who's taking a lot of heat this week by saying that he was going to join ICE. So like I said earlier, everyone hates ICE now because people are getting deported. And by the way, I mentioned this here too. Everyone is claiming that they're now upset about the whole Epstein situation, even though, like I said, it's been like 6 years, and apparently people are only just now upset about it, including Hunter Biden, of all people, who there's literally photos online of Hunter Biden with underage girls, and now all of a sudden he cares about the Epstein. Are we just fully in clown world now? Or is this just full clown world?
By the way, did we ever find out who left the cocaine in the White House Situation Room? Was it some random tourist that just wandered around with?
It was a wizard, Rick. A wizard just left the cocaine there and it disappeared. But,
okay. I'm just curious.
And by the way, even shout out to our buddy Mongo Slade who pointed this out. It's like, if you've actually been paying attention to the real news, there's actually been a lot of human smuggling and human trafficking operations in the United States so far this year that have been shut down. I think they've actually just found another one. I want to say it's Nebraska, or I feel like somewhere in like the Midwest. I know he can correct me here too, but they just found like another one shut down not too long ago. And it seems like no one actually reports on any of them. But it's like several hotels in Nebraska where they found 10 children and 17 adults who were rescued from a human trafficking operation again. So it seems like they are cracking down on it to a degree here in the States, but people are apparently furious with ICE. But Superman actor Dean Cain is going to be joining ICE, which of course he got a lot of heat for. He made the announcement that he was going to join ICE. This is his video. I'm not sure how long this is. We'll just play it. This is like a minute and a half. I can just play it real quick for you.
Hey everybody, Dean Cain here. And for those who don't know, I am a sworn law enforcement officer as well as being a filmmaker. I felt it was important to join with our first responders to help secure the safety of all Americans, not just talk about it. So I joined up. And here's your opportunity to join ICE. You can earn lots of great benefits and pay. Yeah, since President Trump took office, ICE has arrested hundreds of thousands of criminals, including terrorists, rapists, murderers, pedophiles, MS-13 gang members, drug traffickers, you name it. Very dangerous people who are no longer on the streets. You can defend your homeland and get great benefits like a $50,000 signing bonus. Think about that. Student loan repayment legally, enhanced retirement benefits, and special pay for those in the field operations and law enforcement roles. I don't get that special pay, but you also don't need an undergraduate degree. You can get to work right away. So if you want to help save America, ICE is arresting the worst of the worst and removing them from America's streets. I like that. I voted for that. They need your help. We need your help to protect our homeland and our families. So check into it, as I said, and join today if it's something that tickles your fancy, because we can use you.
Now, I will say this. If Dean ICE is going to really get his hands dirty and become essentially the Steve Blackman of ICE, which, if you guys don't know, Steve Blackman, years after he left WWE, became a real police officer and started really kicking the shit out of people. Yeah, straight up. That's not even a joke. Like, he really did do that. So it's like that's the whole
too. But yeah.
Yep. So yeah. So if he goes full Steve Blackman, I'll give him respect for at least for doing that much. We'll see if he's actually going to get his hands dirty, if he's basically just going to be a spokesperson for ICE. We'll see how that whole thing plays out here. But yeah, he got a lot of flack. You had John Leguizamo, who came out, who ironically called him a has-been, which I just thought that's kind of the pot calling the kettle black there, right? Like, don't you think that there's just a little...
Didn't he voice Luigi, though? Didn't John Leguizamo voice Luigi in the Mario movie?
He was Luigi.
He was
live action
Luigi.
With Bob.
The live action one that no one liked.
Yeah.
Oh, but sorry. I thought it was in the 3D movie that he voiced him. Sorry.
No, this is what John had to say about Dean Cain.
What kind of loser volunteers to be an ICE officer? What a moron. Dean Cain, your pronouns are has been. What kind of...
Yeah, so that's all he had to say there. And then, of course, very predictably, John Oliver, who we all know who John Oliver takes his barking orders from, the CIA, went out and basically trashed Dean Cain. Again, called him a has-been, said that, if there was no reason for him to wear a mask because nobody knows who he was. If that was the case, you wouldn't have dedicated an entire segment on your show to Dean Cain. So... Again, I don't think people really think these things through when they're angry. They just kind of like lash out and stuff like that. But this is essentially what Cain said he's going to do. He says that he's in the process of being sworn in, that he's going to be going in the ICE. So we'll see where this leads over the course of the next several weeks and whatnot. But like I said, the hot button issue going on in the world right now is not in the world, just the United States, we're being honest with ourselves, is that everyone's very, very upset with ICE. They're very, very upset of seeing people being deported back to Nicaragua and China. How did they even get here from China, from Mexico? It's been like 4 years and no one seems to want to answer that question. Like, why are people from China and Syria coming in from the country through Mexico? Like, that seems to be like textbook human smuggling right there, but no one wants to answer that question. But yeah, that's essentially what's happening here. So Cider, I'm going to allow you to defend your best friend forever, Dean Cain, who unironically saw your, I guess call it art, that you did with him not too long ago. Defend your boy there, Cider.
Oh, Superman rat. Yeah, no. Yeah. So, of course, this follows through with the kind of person that Dean is. That's all. It's until we got to the modern Hollywood Superman, putting on that suit changed you. George Reeves couldn't live up to the status of it. Christopher Reeve was completely transformed by playing Superman. That completely altered his worldview. Likewise, Dean Cain took the role just as seriously, and you don't go around portraying a superhero without inheriting some of that morality, that super morality. So it's no surprise to me that Dean Cain, a real life police officer, also wants to join the fight to make sure that Texas, the state that he lives in, isn't being overrun by, doctors and surgeons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's funny enough that you mentioned Texas too, because we were literally just talking about Texas. I think it was Austin this week, where apparently the homeless problem has gotten exponentially bad, which shouldn't surprise anyone because Austin is literally filled with people who moved from California. So it shouldn't be any surprise whatsoever that Austin now looks like California. It's like, what did you think was going to happen there?
Did you see the
Austin
timing
weird.
though? Yeah, did you see the timing though of like these reports out of Denver, these reports out of Washington D.C., these reports all over the country about these places that basically put up with homelessness and crime to such a point where people like wealthier people, I don't want to say wealthy people because like whatever that means, but people have money, people that are famous, are afraid to walk around when normally they aren't. That's not good. Like it's there's a perception obviously that there's and there's a reality that crime is higher in the city and you're much more likely to be a victim of a crime. But like, people lived with that and understood that, and now it's starting to get bad. And obviously, Trump had his moment this week bringing the National Guard to Washington D.C. But it's like, look, at the end, there has to be a line drawn at some point. Like either we have a crime problem that needs to be addressed, where people can genuinely feel safe. Daniel Perry, the New York subway. I mean, you know what I mean? You can point to so many different situations to be like, look, there's a reason. There's a lot of people who want this. There's a lot of people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired of putting up with fucking criminal behavior, mental illness, drug addiction, homelessness, whatever. But basically these issues that the people that get elected do not fix and actually exasperate, make worse. So it's like this. I'm not even a Republican, but I look at the landscape and I'm just like, I understand it. I completely understand it. People want law and order. They're sick and tired of living in a country where we pretend that we have laws we have laws on the books. They're just not enforced because of DAs, because of, I don't know, police commissioners, because of people who have some kind of a vested interest in not doing their job.
Or mayors and governors of certain states and cities who want them to look the other way.
And this could be a whole like this whole Dean Cain thing.
Misguided sense of compassion.
A show basically. Like he's just promoting, the Republican president and ICE and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like what he's saying isn't crazy. What he's saying isn't out in left field. He's saying we have laws. We should be able to enforce those laws. We should be able to keep our families safe. How many cities, by the way, how many of these cities is an individual able to fucking have a concealed carry? Very few, if any. And if you do, it's because you're a DA. It's because you're involved in the criminal justice system where you have to have a reason to have a gun. And it's like, I'm sorry, when the crime rates are like that, when the murder rates are what they are, and you tell an individual that they can't protect themselves from any situation that might come upon them, I'm sorry, that's absolutely asinine. And again, I'm saying that more from, I guess, a libertarian perspective, but it's like, to me, it's just, it boggles my mind that people are just like, oh yeah, you shouldn't be able to carry a gun when, like, you have the situation in American cities as it is with crime. So I hope it gets better.
I imagine that in Austin they could have open carry. Texas is an open carry state, so in theory they can walk around, but I imagine most of them would not. I would be genuinely surprised if I opened the door and Dean Cain came in, before he put the handcuffs on me and drove me like 10 minutes across the border, because that's what's obviously going to happen. I really don't think that he's actually going to be on the field. I think, I don't want to say this is just promotion, but I think he's going to kind of be maybe the face or like a spokesperson for it.
Mhm.
I don't expect him to be out there carrying actual raids. As for all the people who are upset and think that this is some sort of scandal, um, look, he's not been secret about his political beliefs, so I don't understand why they are like, oh my gosh, this is a scandal. John Oliver and John Leguizamo, they're just very upset about this. I don't see why, especially because again, I don't see him actually
I
like.
mean, we know
having
why
anything
John
to do-
Oliver. I mean,
Well,
Oh,
he, should,
yeah.
he has a better shot of getting deported than I do because I don't think he's an actual citizen.
So who would you rather see get punched in the face, John Oliver or Paul Heyman? Because I'm like, I don't know which one gets my.
Well,
in
vote.
all honesty,
Paul
look,
Heyman is.
John Oliver is a CIA puppet, and everyone's known that for a very, very long time. So his talking points don't even come from him; they come from the intelligence agencies. Paul Heyman is a legitimate piece of shit, and there's no excuse for that whatsoever. So it's like Paul Heyman 1,000 times over.
But I'll tell you this, and I've shared this with you guys before. I guess, if Dean Cain came to the El Paso Comic Con, I mean, it would be empty because then nobody would show up. I might wander in.
But so there's a couple of things like happening here with this whole thing, and this is like, first of all, essentially the left is just having a meltdown because everything Trump said that he was going to do when he get elected, he's actually doing. Like, this is what he's been running for a decade now. He's been saying this for a decade, that when he gets in power, he's going to deport illegal immigrants and send them back to where they came from. And he's been doing that successfully. Guess what? A lot of people in this country, including a lot of people who just so happen to be brown, actually support that. No one's crying on behalf of illegal immigrants because people either came here. No, like, here's the thing: there's no statute of limitations here. I'm sorry. Look, just because you didn't get caught for 23 years does not mean that you can just stay. I'm sorry. That's not how this country works.
But Jacob, if they do round them up, who's going to go out there and pick the strawberries? Who's going to go?
Who's going to pick my cotton when they're all gone? Who's going to pick my cotton?
That's a very curious. There's a very curious argument about this situation where they're saying, well, all the fruit's going to be out there rotting because no one's there to pick them. I think. Do you hear what you're saying?
Oh, real quick, I will say that Washington and Oregon do have pretty bad shortages right now for crap. I'm trying to remember what fucking crop it was, but yeah, no, seriously, because it's not apples. It's I can't remember. Damn it, I'll look it up here in a second. But I do know that they have reported that. So.
Yeah. And counterpoint to Rooftop Korean here, the Bill of Rights is the Bill of Rights. Yeah, the Bill of Rights applies to citizens. Yep. Of the United States of America. So that's kind of your problem there, buddy. But look, here's the thing. So everyone's crashing out because Trump is doing exactly what he said that he was going to be doing. And then on top of that, the whole thing with like the police, and now everyone's trying to pretend like they're all upset because, oh, he's calling the National Guard. He's like, no. You guys have let these cities turn into absolute shitholes in the course of the last 5 years. We're not going to sit here and pretend like we didn't sit here and experience and see the George Floyd riots in real time. Ever since that happened and you made that whole push to defund the police and cuts the police funding and all that stuff, oh, we hate the cops here. So guess what? LA has become a shithole. Chicago has gotten worse. New York has got, all of these major cities in America have gotten exponentially worse than they were 5 years ago. Perfect example, LA. Remember when LA tried to elect a Republican-ish mayor in LA? You know why they did that? Because LA 20 years ago was fine when all the violence was contained to like Crenshaw, Inglewood, Compton, South Central, places where they would be 30 minutes away from a line where they would ever cross to meet there. Like anything that was south of the Staples Center, they didn't mind all the crime happening down there. The problem is the crime isn't down there anymore. It's all over the city. It's in where, guess what? The people with money are actually having to experience the reality of the crime and the homeless problem, and they don't like it. But guess what? Because they've essentially decided they were going to lie in this bed of progressivism that says that we hate cops, we think cops are bad, we need to defund all this nonsense, they can't even take a step forward to actually solve the problem, because that would admit that there is a problem, and they can't admit there's a problem in their city while Trump is in charge. That means that Trump is right, and they can't show that Trump is right. So they're going to let these cities rot. Philadelphia has fallen off of a cliff here over the last several years. And in case you guys haven't seen Philly recently, not only is it overrun with gangs, shootings every single night in broad daylight, the fentanyl problem in Philly literally has that city looking like The Walking Dead, unironically.
Yep. The people that just stay, like, they're technically not conscious, but they're standing up just hunched over.
It's
So gross.
It's a genuinely sad sight when I see those videos of Philadelphia, and they're not moving.
Kensington.
But it's just terribly depressing. And you think, why do you think leaving them in that condition is compassionate? It's not compassionate, but they don't want to intervene. I'll say this: when it comes to ICE and all the raids and all that. Again, people seem to be mixing legal and illegal immigration. There is an actual difference. But apparently, all immigrants, we're all dreamers, we're all immigrants, they all came this way. I don't know if that's accurate. And I think we do need to distinguish between legal and illegal immigration. We welcome legal immigrants. I mean, my mom was an illegal immigrant. But I think there needs to be a process. If people say, we need to be like Ellis Island. Yes, Ellis Island had a process. You had to go through a medical exam. You had to go and get examined. You had to have some money when you came in. It wasn't just like they just crossed the Hudson and then bam, you're in. So yes, let's have a process.
And then even people trying to say it's like, oh, well, they're not illegal. They just overstayed their visa. It still doesn't make it better. What you can't get over the hump of is that there's still people who are not supposed to be here.
Yeah,
you can't accept that. And,
like the founder of the Trump Burger, wasn't he just deported?
Yeah. And let's be honest here. I saw that joint. He probably deserved to be deported for that.
And I empathize with this to some degree. I empathize with this because one of the great like narrative aspects of noir is like the haunted past, the person who you've done something and you're running away from being, arrested, found out, whatever. It always comes back to bite you in the ass. So all these fucking people, it's like, I feel for you. I know how hard it is to be a citizen. It's expensive, all this shit, right? You did something wrong. You did something wrong. And it's going to, that other shoe's going to drop. It's just like juror number 2. It's like, that knock on the door is going to happen one day, and you're going to be surprised. You're going to act like a victim. No, you knew what you did had consequences. And here's the thing. I think that there should be I don't know. There should be a way of becoming a U.S. citizen if you're here or doing the right thing. But really doing the right thing is going to the back of the line and doing it the right way. And so I'm not in favor necessarily of kicking people out, but the law is the law. And if you can't, literally, if we can't have laws that are followed, what's the point of having them? What's the point?
Either we have a law or we don't. Like there's no middle ground. Like you can't change the law because you're emotional about some law being applied here. And kind of another point to Rooftop's point here, we're talking about private property. I hate to break this to you. In a lot of these major cities that we've been talking about, the Los Angeles, the New York, Chicago's, the Phillies, there's not as much private property in these locations as you think. Like, it's not like we're talking about like rural Alabama or Georgia or anything. Because when you look at a lot of the development in these cities, but primarily over the last 10, 15 years as well, it's not, quote unquote, the private citizen that owns a lot of these businesses that are being raided. We're talking about corporations who have essentially been buying up a large mass of these big blue cities here for the last 20 years. And it's been by design because guess what? The government, the local government in these cities have allowed it to happen. So if now that's biting some of these people in the ass, again, this is a consequence to the policies you guys have supported for 20 years. At some point, you have to accept the fact that your policies that you supported got you to this point here right now. And you can't fall back onto being, well, now all of a sudden we're libertarian when it's convenient.
Right now.
Yeah, right. But like, first of all, I absolutely love that picture here too. It needs a little bit more dredge, a little bit more Judge Dredd going on with that one. But yeah, that one's great. But yeah, look.
Well, see, I was gonna post it in public, so I didn't want to throw too much dread on it because I didn't want to give him like the impression of like you're a killer now, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because somebody will definitely take that in and run with it here too. But look, at the end of the day, either we have a law or we don't. Like, are what these people doing illegal? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then I'm sorry, the tears just isn't going to work anymore. And I think people are sick and tired of living by the tears rather than living by the law. Because while you guys are crying for some hot dog vendor who got, knocked over at an ICE raid, there are people that are actually dying out on the street. People are getting robbed. People are getting killed. Their quality of life and living in the city that they used to love
is too damn high.
And it's significantly worse than it was previously. So, again, you're keeping the emotional focus on all of these poor people. What about everyone else in the city? All the other millions of people in the city whose life has been significantly worse thanks to the invasion that these people have caused over the course of the last 20 years. Do we sit here and cry, have emotional debates about any of these? Do we give a shit about anyone? Like I said, do we give a shit about anyone who lives in LA, who has to go to work every single day? Keep in mind, it's not cheap to live there, just in case you guys haven't realized too. And now he has to... Not only is it not cheap to live there, the place where he has to live is significantly less safe than it was 5 years ago. Do we give a shit about that guy? Or do we only give a shit about the people who cry on CNN?
Well, you have to think, do the people who live there actually care? Because I presume that most of the people who live in these cities voted for the government that approves of these matters. So I presume that this person in Los Angeles who's trying to just live his life voted for someone who said, yes, we're not going to help ICE, they're not going to, we're not going to help them find anyone, what have you. We're going to allow you to protest and wave the Mexican flags around as you say, Mexico, don't send us to Mexico, but here are the Mexican flags flying all over. That's what that's what I assume some of them voted for. So what's that expression? Elections have consequences. Well,
yep.
That's going to be the consequence. Just like here in El Paso, we keep voting for bond elections, and people are surprised that their taxes go up. That's what happens when you keep voting for more and more spending. Mm-hmm. Same thing here. If you vote for something about not helping ICE, I'm not saying help ICE, just for the record, but I'm saying if you vote for these ideas, you're going to end up with the government that you have in Philadelphia, in New York, now that they're going to have the socialists in New York. So just accept that your elections have consequences.
But how many of those places have rich communities, rich gated communities like Westchester, like Bellevue,
Enclaves,
like Beverly Hills, like I'm sure there's a part of San Francisco that it's all fucking rich people. What am I saying?
Well, yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
They're all Google executives at this point.
All these people, they wall themselves in away from the problems they've created. I just love that so much. It's like, what? Huh?
Mm-hmm. And by the way, just making a quick little point here, it's like most of the people who are being arrested are violent criminals. Now, I will say this. It's important to know the difference between arrested and detained, because this has also been a sticking point with a lot of people. There have been people who have been unfairly detained by ICE. Let's not pretend like that's not happening. But you know what the difference is between being arrested and detained? Is that you're not actually arrested when you're detained. You're just temporarily held. And usually they let you go. That's just usually how it's happened to a lot of people, and yeah, it sucks to be detained. Not saying that I myself has been in a couple of situations like that. So I'm not saying that as someone who hasn't experienced it. But at the same time, you're not going in cuffs and you're not going to jail. It's an inconvenience at the best. Yeah. As long as you play your cards right and don't make it worse.
Never ask a cop, am I free to, am I being detained? Okay, that'll just piss them off. So.
No, the best question to ask is, can I touch your gun? I love it when you ask them and you reach for it. They love that. That's the best thing in the world. Cops love it when you say, can I touch your gun, and reach for it. It's their
Okay, you got to put a disclosure over that, please.
There's an absolute disclaimer. I'm not even looking at the screen, guys.
Please do not Please do not take Cider's advice. You will get shot in the face.
Is this something that is just purely Maine related?
What?
Yeah, right? You try it. Yeah, that'll go very well, especially up here where the trees can't even hear you scream.
Yeah, go up to your local police officer and demand to see his weapon.
Watermelon of preference. Yes. As you can see right here, I sank about $10,000 worth of quarters into the Street Fighter 2 arcade machine.
You're single-handedly keeping that thing alive.
I really am. It's
I do enjoy cherries.
Rainier cherries. Yep.
So let's move over here to this one here, because this will be a quick little closer here. Gina Carano settled with Disney, and people are upset about this. And the reason why they're upset is because they wanted this to go to Discovery. They wanted this to go to Discovery because they wanted to see what Disney was really doing behind closed doors. And it seems like Disney essentially paid Gina enough money to make sure that that did not happen. So some people are viewing this as a win. Some people are like, we could have taken this farther. Keep in mind, her lawsuit was being funded by Elon Musk. So it wasn't like she couldn't afford the legal fees anymore and was forced in a position where she had to settle because she didn't have any other option. She could have went further if she wanted to, because Elon was funding the bill for this whole thing, but she decided that she was going to take the money and settle. So there is no Discovery with Disney. We won't really know what was actually going on behind closed doors. A few people are upset about it. So Gina, if y'all know the situation, 5 years ago, she made a tweet about how it's so funny that we're having this whole argument about ICE here in 2025, about how ICE is treating illegal immigrants when we were in the context of 2020 and how the government was treating actual citizens in the United States over COVID lockdowns and revelations. It was a completely different outlook from a lot of people then. Like, then it was just shut up and comply because you're going to kill grandma. Now all of a sudden we're whining about ICE. Like I said,
Graham.
It hasn't even been long enough to forget what these people said 4 or 5 years ago, and they try to pretend like now all of a sudden they have the moral high ground on this issue. But no, she was fired because she was openly protesting against the COVID restrictions, lockdowns, and mandates. She made a tweet saying that, people were being treated just like, the Jews were being treated in World War II. That angered Disney. That said, oh, you're making light of the Holocaust, so you're fired. You're fired from your agency. You're never going to work in this town again. You're completely blacklisted. You're gone. So after a couple of years of dealing with that whole situation, she fired a suit against Disney back last year, a wrongful termination suit, which was moving forward. It was supposed to go to Discovery had it gotten pushed forward. We were going to know essentially what Disney did behind closed doors to blacklist Gina from the industry, and now that's all done. Not only that, apparently, due to the language that was used here, there's seemingly a venue or an avenue here to bring Gina Carano back to Disney-related projects in the future. I don't know if that means that she's coming back to Star Wars in the next few years. Who knows where that leads, but here's what the story is. Gina Carano settled her lawsuit with Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company from firing her back in 2021. The exact terms of the settlement had not been specified, so we don't know exactly how much she got. It better be at least 8 figures. Otherwise, I would say this is probably a very, very stupid decision. Yeah. No, Disney could pay at least $10 million. Are you kidding me? For everything that's going on, they probably pay at least 10. So if she didn't get at least 10, I would be like, well, what are you doing? Like,
it's
seriously.
2025. Who knows how much of that goes to lawyers?
If they could pay the WWE $325 million for WrestleMania, they could pay Gina Carano $10 million to shut up. Like, let's the girl who extorted Shannon Sharp got 20, and she was just a 20-year-old OnlyFans model he slept with.
They settled that she goes back to work with them. So I don't know if she got her money. She may have got the promise that she can keep making money and they can't fire her for that reason.
Yep.
Again, that makes it even dumber. That makes it so basically you're saying you have to work for the money that we could just give you.
Well, no, here's the thing. Do you guys think that maybe she wants back in? Like she wants back into Hollywood? Because that's the whole thing. She was suing because she was unfairly fired and removed because basically some
tweets smeared her. And
right.
So that settlement required nobody to apologize, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody had to come out, and Pedro Pascal doesn't have to come out and be like, "I'm sorry, I compared you to genocidal weirdos that turned people into soap."
I'm sorry I threw you under the bus at the same time that my career skyrocketed, Gina. Even though we were supposedly friends.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is that it's that's what makes me suspicious about this whole thing, is that like Gina might have just got tired of being blacklisted and was like, hand me $5,000 and promise me work.
But that's the thing that, like I said, I'm just looking at it from a completely different perspective. You can get the money.
Sorry, not $5,000. Sorry, I'm a country mouse. $5,000 seems like a lot of money. Sorry.
Yeah. But it's like you can
give me
get
taxi fare to get home, and it'd be all over with.
like you can get the money and still tell the company to go F itself. It's like it's not like it's a requirement. Even if you did settle, you can still tell Disney, okay, F you, I won. I win at the end, and then that's the end of it. To go back, if that's what she's planning on doing, that's kind of like, okay, then what was the point of anyone supporting you in the last 5 years if you're just gonna go back and put on that dumb Star Wars suit after everything that we went through? Are we supposed to just like, yay, Disney now all of a sudden? But yeah, this is the note here. It says that Disney and Lucasfilm are pleased to announce that we have reached an agreement with Gina Carano to resolve the issues in her pending lawsuit against the companies. Miss Carano was always well respected by her directors, co-stars, staff. Then why did you blacklist her, you fucking scumbags? That she worked hard to perfect her craft while treating her colleague. In a little way, this does kind of feel like a not so indirect written apology by Disney just by admitting this, because this is not what you guys were saying 4 years ago. Worked hard to perfect her craft, treating her colleagues with kindness and respect. With the lawsuit concluded, we look forward to identifying opportunities to work together with Miss Carano in the near future. So there's outright saying, hey, there's an avenue here to work again sometime soon. Who knows if that's gonna be? I mean, the only projects Disney related that she worked on was Star Wars on The Mandalorian, playing Carol Dune, and then she also had an appearance in the first Deadpool movie, which is now owned by Disney. She obviously didn't appear in the second or the third for the obvious reasons, but maybe that's an avenue back for. We'll see. But she filed a lawsuit with Disney and Lucasfilm in the California federal court. Obviously, Elon Musk pledged to finance the lawsuit claims of anyone who claims they've been discriminated based on their social media platform. That's when he bought X. Obviously, Carano lined up with that one, so he paid her legal fees. But that's all good now, I guess. We rely on the leaders and people in position of power to be cool-headed and steady-headed, to be able to listen to all sides of the story, to keep peace and act justly. Carano said in a statement, this is not the time, but this whole thing went down. But like I said, it's all gone now. So this is kind of the question. Is this a win? Oh, God. Please no. Let's not do this. Hold on a second. Let's not do this.
That's what they're going to do to her. They're doing another Power Rangers series. They're going to make her play Zordon.
Okay, when she's the new Xavier, don't fucking throw a fit.
Oh, God.
Telling you, that's what they're going to do. We're identifying opportunities. How do you feel about shaving your head and playing a blue floating head in a tube?
Which is literally just ribbing her even further. But Tarkin's right here. Like, technically, it's not an apology, but you have to understand how multinational billion-dollar corporations work. That's the closest thing to an apology that they're legally going to write.
Money. That's what the money is for. The money is for the hey, I don't have to apologize. I just have to pay you a lot of money. So let me get this over with. I saw Gina Carano in one thing. She was in this Steven Soderbergh action movie called Haywire. She's pretty good. Yeah. She really showed off her like good action choreography, and it's why I think she's good in those roles because she makes it believable. She makes you believe that she's that character fighting or doing whatever. So I certainly think she's talented. She's physically talented. She can do stunts, but I kind of think her skill set is somewhat limited. And again, I don't know anything about this case. I didn't look into it. But knowing Hollywood and knowing the kind of people Hollywood attracts, if you enjoyed being in the spotlight, you want to get back to being in the spotlight. Maybe she learned her lesson. Maybe she would have taken $25 million to just go away. I don't know. Maybe she took less money with an opportunity to be considered for future projects. I don't know. It sounds like a bribe. I mean, I'm sorry. It just sounds like a big old like, hey, I don't want to embarrass you. You don't want to embarrass me. Just pay me a little bit of money and get back to square one and we'll be good. I don't know. I really don't. But look, Hollywood is filled with people like this, and I'm not accusing Gina Carano of being a spotlight chasing I'm speculating based on the situation. And if that's what she wants to do, hey, you got some money, you got another crack at the show at Hollywood, whatever. But everybody who looked at this as a culture war issue, and everybody that championed Gina Carano as like she's standing up for common sense, and she was. I'm not, but it was about her. She's standing up for herself, and that's fine. Everybody should do that. Everybody should stand up for themselves. But the people that wanted to jump on this bandwagon of that she's some culture warrior, it's like, give me a break. She's a person. She's just a person trying to have the best outcome possible. But I'm glad that she won. I'm glad that she got paid some money for how she was treated. But what it means, we'll have to see going forward.
Here's my thing with Gina Carano as an actress. Like, obviously, I've known Gina Carano. I mean, I'm like I know her we go back in the day, but I remember when Gina Carano started off in I think she was doing the American Gladiators reboot. At the time, this is probably back 2007, 2008 when they were doing that. And then to find out, it's like, oh yeah, well, she actually does MMA as well. So she has an MMA background. And she did the fight with Cyborg, I think it was 2010 when they did that fight. And honestly, that was the fight that kind of launched the UFC, that kind of changed its tune on women's MMA, because Dana White notoriously said years prior to that there was never going to be women's MMA, that it was never going to be a thing. But when that fight drew, I believe it was on CBS at the time, and they showed them that a big women's MMA fight can draw, that's when he kind of changed his tune on it. That's what led to Ronda Rousey becoming a big thing, and Ronda says time and time again that Gina Carano was a big inspiration for women getting into MMA there. So she has the MMA pedigree before she even got into acting. Then she started doing acting. If we're being honest with ourselves, she's not a great actress. She's never been a great actress. She's very, very limited with her range as an actress, but she found a popular role on the The Mandalorian. She looks like she can kick people's ass. At least she did back then. I mean, apparently she's let herself go a little bit the last few years. Who knows? But she had a good look there. She was doing, like I said, Deadpool, The Mandalorian, and then all the stuff around the COVID stuff happened, and that's where everyone turned on her, because as the same people who are furious about ICE right now were pushing mask mandates and shutdowns, and you can't have more than 10 people in your home or we'll call the cops and get you arrested, or you can't have more than 50 people in an arena for an NBA game because grandma's gonna die. She was one of the vocal people speaking out against all that stuff, and they turned on her because of that. Now, there was obviously some things going down too with the whole trans stuff, but really it was the COVID thing that really, really upset people, because at that time period, you weren't allowed to speak out against COVID lockdown. You were told to do what you were told by the government, because at that time they were the ones controlling the government. It was Biden administration pushing a lot of that stuff, and yet do not like Operation Warp Speed either. And I think that Trump's an idiot for still promoting that. Is a good thing, because that's definitely a thing that's going to be used against him. He's too stupid to realize it. But this is just kind of where we are with the whole Carano thing. Somebody just mentioned, I think it may have been Leslie, that they're doing reshoots. Maybe they'll bring her character back to the show and give her some closure there. But I mean, the people who hate her, it hasn't really changed. They still hate her. I mean, they still hate her for her COVID stance. They still hate her for her trans comments on Twitter. So I don't think she's going to get a warm reception, at least as far as the fan base. Maybe Pedro Pascal apologizes behind closed doors because he's too big of a pussy to say something in public. Maybe Bill Burr will say something behind closed doors, but that's really what you're going to get. And at the same time, with everything going on here, with everything going on, this whole situation with Gina in the last 5 years, do you want to go back to that same group of people? Like, do you really want to go back? Look, I hate to throw people under the bus, but for this particular instance, I'm going to mention it. Martina Markova, who we've all known, she's been on the show once. We've talked to her every now and then. everyone knows her story. She got booted out of the burlesque scene in New York several years ago, and it's very, very clear she pines every single day about going back to that scene. And I just kind of look at it from the side of like, they hate you. That's why you haven't been back. They hate you. They don't want you there. It's like, why are you so obsessed with going back to the same people who kicked you out on your ass several years ago? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, maybe it's just the fact that we're just guys and we just don't think the same way that women do. But if people like that went to that degree to say that, hey, we don't want you a part of our group, like, okay, fine, fuck you guys too. I'm out of here. That would be my reaction to it. I don't know if they feel the same way about it. It's like I said, I'm not a woman. I can't profess to be in the mind of a woman because let's be honest, even women don't know what they want in 2025 anymore. But maybe that's just where we're at here.
And I don't want to speak because I don't know the person's situation. She actually follows me on Twitter, but I have put myself in some really precarious situations in my personal life, and if you would examine it, even myself as a logical person, I'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like, your upbringing. I don't know if it's like your self-worth, if you've got issues, basically, how you feel about yourself. But I kind of understand that. And if it's where that's where you've gotten positivity in your life, that's kind of what you're going back to, even if it's, I don't know. I hate using the word, but toxic. Where you're doing something is not good for you because it gives you something, but it doesn't mean it doesn't take away. You know what I mean? And people make unhealthy choices all the time about their life, where they live, who they're going to be with, their partner, whatever. So it's to try to get a clear understanding of why. Who knows, dude? Who fucking knows? And then there's the whole mindset of what makes someone want to be an actor. I mean, Cider, I'm sure could answer that more than I could because I'm not an actor, but I've read enough about them and read enough about particular individuals and what makes them tick and that kind of thing. But I don't know. Maybe that person just doesn't have love and support in their life, and so they're going back to the circus.
I look at it, and I've made this analogy here a few times before in the past. Like Rob, you've heard it. I look at it as like the Entourage analogy. Like when you go back and you watch episodes of Entourage, they make it seem like that. Hollywood's all about getting famous and getting rich, living in a big house, sleeping with a bunch of women, going to all these parties. So when you kind of look at it from kind of the vain aspect of that's what Hollywood is, and that's why people want to be involved with it, it kind of makes sense. But then when you see the reality of what it actually is, when you see the reality of what Hollywood has become, and like I said, you quite literally got bit by the industry that you wanted to be a part of. It's like, then why do you want to go back? Like, well, why do you really want to go back there and be a part of that community, knowing exactly who those people are? And it kind of loops into what I was mentioning earlier with my TV concept. You guys wouldn't be surprised to know that I wanted to do a number of scripts back. This is 10, 15 years ago for the industry and whatnot, and I was pretty close to that side of things where I could have done that if I wanted to. But then as I started to see who those people were, and that was kind of 2016, 2017, people who I thought were cool, who revealed themselves very quickly to not be cool at all, I just got to be okay, well, I don't want to marry myself to this industry if this is what it's going to turn into. So if this is the reality of my dream, then I guess it's time to find a new dream, right? Maybe I'm just kind of, I don't want to say level-headed, that sounds kind of egotistical, but maybe I could just see things more clearly than some other people can, because I don't expect Hollywood to get any better anytime soon. I think they've been very clear about who they are for several decades, and you're not going to reform Hollywood. It's not going to happen. It's not an industry that can be reformed. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, even if she did go back, I don't know what her career prospects is. Like I said, I think she's 42 now. She wasn't a great actress beforehand. I don't know what the ceiling is for Carano if she did want to go back to Hollywood. And let's be honest, Star Wars, it's not like Star Wars has done great in the last 5 years since she's been gone. So it's not like she's going back to something that's major and popular. Like, no one's
Well,
fucking at
she could
Star
always
Wars
go to
anymore.
she could always go to those various cons, and I'm sure she could still draw, recognition and autographs. All I'll say real quick is that I guess I have a more charitable view. She just wanted to get this over with and maybe have a chance to get back to work and work in some kind of project and then expand her career. That's I think the reason. I don't know. I don't think there's anything like nefarious or shady in all this. It's just like, yeah, you know what? I just want this end. I want a chance to get be working and work my way back into the good graces of Hollywood. If someone like Mel Gibson could go back after having a meltdown and end up getting another director Oscar nomination, why can't I get back into doing something like The Mandalorian? That's just my quick take. I don't see anything other than self-interest on her part and maybe self-interest on Disney part. Is like, okay, yeah, we're gonna get this over with and we're not gonna have to delve into our work. It's like, yeah, that's it. Let's end this, and that is pretty much my take. Nothing horrendous.
Yeah, so that's it. This is one we'll probably have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what Gina decides to do. If she tries to go back to the machine and work for Disney again or whatever the case may be, it's like, hey, look, that's her decision. At the end of the day, and I kind of say this time and time again, don't try to fight everyone else's battles for them because they may stab you in the back afterwards. So, and like I said, too early to say if that's what's happening here with Gina, but we'll figure it out sooner than later. Real quick before we get out of here, I did want to show you guys this. This is kind of a follow-up of something that we ended last week's show with. Rick, you weren't here because you were in Arizona doing God knows what with God knows who, but we talked about a little guy
with Caitlin Clark and escaping ice at medieval times.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Did you like ride on her back like Banjo and Kazooie?
Mm-hmm.
No, she was just next to me at the roulette table.
Oh,
sweet. Well, here's the thing. So we talked about a guy called Timmy No Breaks last week, and the setup here, the setup here was that Timmy went on the Kill Tony show, and basically, brilliantly, if you really look at it, intentionally bombed his set. There's a thing when you go on there to give amateur comedians like a 1-minute set to see if they're funny or not, and then they go forward with like seeing with other projects or whatnot, whatever the case is. That's the format. He intentionally bombed his first minute to do a bad Andrew Dice Clay impersonation, and then essentially made the comedy, his character during the interview after the bit, and won over everyone on the Kill Tony fan. So they brought him back literally like a couple of weeks later. So this is the follow-up for Timmy No Breaks. I won't play the whole thing, but just a bit to basically catch up to exactly what happened with our friend Timmy No Breaks.
Of Timmy No Breaks. Oh yeah.
So now everyone knows who he is, so he's just like walking around like a king.
Who's ready for the best fucking minute of their lives? What do you do for a living? You're a student? Not what I'm looking for. What do you do for a living? Oh, fucking mother. What do you do for a living? And you, what do you do for a living? Time check? All right, come on, guys, let's go. What do you do for a living? Fuck you, come on. And you, what do you do for a living? I'm just trying to find a natural way into this fucking sushi chef joke. Does anybody work at an airport sushi restaurant? I mean, I relinquish my time.
Wow. The hardest I've laughed all night. The long-awaited return of the Force of 6th Street. Timmy No Brakes. All gas, no brakes. This guy left a dinosaur paw print size footprint on the show the last time he was on. Hard in the paint. Some people said the next big thing. Famously handed off his joke book to the man in the front row, whoever it was. And tonight, threw his sunglasses at a person in the front row. It's becoming
Give him back.
trademark. Timmy motherfucking No Brakes has arrived back to the Kill Tony universe. Timmy, how we doing?
Well, good. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest. I told you I wanted Dan Cook. No offense. I mean, you know, but fucking
You wanted him on the panel next time you were on, is that what you said?
Yeah, I hit you up with some requests. I said a bucket of MHLs. I said Dan Cook, and, you know, none of them are his, so I don't know what the fucking...
I tried my best to get him. Wasn't easy. We have to settle for Chris O'Connor and Ryan O'Neal tonight.
You're Ryan O'Neal?
Yeah.
This is for you. You just got served, bitch. Got your ass. Open it up. Yeah, why don't you show everybody what that is, bitch? Why don't you show everybody what that... That's a picture of my niece's volleyball team. Oh, rush this man!
Wow. All gas, no brakes, indeed. The people's champ of Kill Tony.
The people's golden ticket winner, bitch.
That's right. The people's golden ticket winner. I'm going to pretend like you didn't call me a bitch right there. Because I like you. We're going to keep it that way.
No disrespect. I respect what you're doing. I love you, Tone.
Thank you, Timmy. I love you, too. So tell us, what does Timmy No Brakes do when he's not on stage?
Yeah, I mean, well, I recently got in some trouble. I went to play laser tag and brought a real gun. That was not good. Can I just say something? Guys, when I hit a punch, give me some fucking trumpet. I mean...
punch, man. Give me some punch. Jeez.
Not yet.
When I hit comedy bit.
My God. So, Timmy, there's so many questions I didn't get to ask last time you were on. Like, I can't even imagine what a confident human like you. What is your love life like, Timmy No Brakes?
I mean, I gotta say, it's definitely changed. I've had a bunch of bitches slide into my DMs. I had Hillary Duff slide into my DMs. Yeah, more like Hillary Muff. That bitch has a vagina. Fucking Mr. Clean, clean out your fucking ears. God damn. I'm sorry, Tone. I'm sorry. Doing my best. But fucking, you know.
Wow. So Hillary Duff slid into your DMs. Was this after the Kill Tony appearance?
Yeah, it was after. It was after.
You've really blown up from it. Tell us what life is like since that one appearance. You might be the most talked about human ever after only one appearance in the show's history. 12 and a half years of the show, and you might be, in 60 seconds in one interview, the most famous character ever.
Yes, it's been great, you know. I got to do David Lucas's fishing podcast, so I made it. By the way, where the fuck was the trumpet there, guys? Come on.
I think he deserves something a little more. That's like a negative horn you're giving. It should be like a ba-da-bum, ba-dum-bum, or something like that, right?
Tone, no. Give me a D.
You give him a D. Give him a D. What's a D?
I don't...
Yeah. Okay. I see it now. I like it.
That was a D. That was a D. They nailed that one that time. That was a D. They really did.
Wow. So, Timmy No Brakes, where are you originally from?
So I'm from Jersey. You already asked me that, but that's okay, Tone.
Yeah.
Tone, it's okay.
Yeah.
But,
It's for some of the new people here.
Oh, yeah, you probably saw him. I killed Tony, so this is just going to be repeating it. But, yeah, I'm from Jersey. What the fuck else is new?
And is there anything that you miss about New Jersey?
You know, I miss the mornings. Spotlight?
Spotlight for Timmy No Breaks. No doubt about it. Whatever Timmy wants. Every member of the Kill Tony crew should know. Whatever Timmy asks for, Timmy gets from this point forward. There's a thumbs up from the great Yoni. Timmy, go ahead. What do you miss about Jersey?
Yeah, I miss the mornings, you know, walking out, fucking walking up to bitches saying, hey, bitch! That's what I'm talking about! That's what I'm talking about! Well, yeah, that's what I miss most, you know? We're good on the spotlight, thank you.
Go back and watch the full thing. It's absolutely hilarious.
Imagine that's just how it happened, right? That he just, walked on stage, and that was just how it all went.
Like I said, the most brilliant thing about that whole character, especially over 2 weeks, he still has yet to tell a single joke in the 2 weeks that he's been on that show. Has not told a single joke since he's been there, and he's absolutely killed both times. So,
well, he couldn't find anyone who worked at the airport. That was a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently people just don't have jobs at sushi restaurants at the airport.
There you go.
Well, this is why America's in the gutter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go ahead and sign off and get out of here so these sleepyhead people can get off of my show. Let's go ahead and start with this guy since he was here first.
Oh, why, thank you. I'm sorry I missed everyone. Well, I'm working on our more reviews, still working through the Summer Under the Stars series. So I have a few that are scheduled to be posted. I will be hopefully writing at long last a review of Naked Gun, Fantastic Four. I saw Relay as an early showing yesterday. So I've got a few films to write about, and hopefully I'll get a chance to do it. And that's pretty much it. Just writing reviews and hiding from ICE in my various undisclosed locations. That's pretty much my life.
All right then, Rob, how's it going?
Yeah, speaking of ICE, I just really like that Arrested Development made a character named ICE. It was this black bounty hunter. His father's a fugitive in Mexico, and he has to find him. Anyway, I'm going to go see F1 again this weekend for the third time. Second time in IMAX. It's coming back for a little run here because it's about to hit the profitability mark of 600 million. That's been really the story of the summer box office, not Fantastic Four or Superman or Weapons. It's that an F1 Brad Pitt movie has kind of sustained long-term success at the box office, both internationally and domestic. So good job. My podcast, I'm going to start doing a weekly podcast on Friday where I just talk about the movies I watched that week.
Yay!
I watch about, on average, 20 movies a week. So I figure that'll give me plenty to talk about. So I'm going to start doing that. But that's about it. I will see you guys next week, and stay safe.
Mazel tov, Roberto.
I've almost got the high score, guys. Some guy named Ass has the high score here, so I don't know, gotta get that taken care of.
How are you
Aaron
doing at
Samuels
Slam
Samson.
How are you doing at Slam Ball?
I don't know. That's not an arcade machine here. That's the other place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've poured so many quarters into this. Anyway, you guys can catch me over on Bounding Into Comics. I talk about things and stuff. And yesterday we talked about censorship and how Trump saved gamers. Maybe. We'll find out. You should tune in so we can find out together.
And letting you know what I got coming up. Not much. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm getting a tooth yanked on Saturday, which means that I'm probably going to have to pre-record the Bible Ends before Saturday because I'm probably not going to be in the mood to do a hour and a half show on Saturday with one tooth and a gaping wound in my mouth. So, yeah, that's probably what I got coming up the next couple of days. It's going to be a little bit of rest, and then we'll be back here for the bar room next Tuesday. So, thank you, everyone, for joining us on the show here. Neozoic said thank you to Rob, Sider, TW, who was here earlier, Rick, Leslie, Terminator Joe, Lisa, Vanya, Kitty, Top Dog, Excalibur, Rooftop, Zale, Sakura Mita, Freddie, Kid, James, everyone who joined us here tonight's show. Thank you very much. It's time for us to sign off. Adios, good night, and goodbye? Question mark? Question mark? By the way, just real quick before we get out of here, Brie Larson. I'm going to update the outros and the intros of this show. Does Brie Larson still have a career? Does anyone know if Brie Larson's still a thing, or is she basically dead?
She was on a table the other night.
What?
Yeah.
She still has her Oscar.
Yeah, she was photographed on like a table the other night or something. I don't know.
Were they eating her?
The fuck did that?
Yeah, I don't know if she was table dancing or what was going on. But
did times get that hard?
In Madam Web. Everybody remember that classic.
Oh, what the hell is this? Oh, okay, now I gotta play this before we get out of here. Hold on one second. Because, yeah, I don't have no context of what the hell this is. But, yeah, this is Brie Larson on a table.
There we go. That's what I saw. I was very high last night, so.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently so was she.
Yeah.
I think a lady tried to do this and broke her back.
Yeah, right. You're absolutely right. You're right. Ouch. This woman was Captain Marvel a few years ago, people. Remember, she was supposed to be the next big thing in Marvel, and now she's on high heels on a table with a buzz cut.
Balancing on soup.
Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Making your way through the daily grind takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to tune away? All those nights when you're feeling low, the rent is overdue, and your coffee maker's broken, your luck just seems to skew, and your boss is always on your case. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Roll out of bed and you feel the dread. The morning's looking bleak. And your internet is down again. You haven't slept all week, and your car just broke down on the way. Be glad there's a place online where you can feel at ease. In the barroom, podcast friends, we share our thoughts and tease. Every story shared, every laugh so free. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. So here's to the moments we all hold dear. In this ballroom of the airwaves with friends so near. Every story shared, every heartfelt cheer. It's more than just a podcast, it's where we steer.
I still don't feel like I know how to shoot these things.